County to order. And I'll ask Supervisor Gray to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You will notice that Sherry Brennan's not here. She didn't have an extreme makeover. So, as Vice Chair, I'll be standing in for her. We hopefully will see her later this morning. So, with that, we'll open with oral communications. Any member of the public wishing to say anything on a subject not on the agenda is welcome to come forth to the podium and speak. Are there any members of the public wish to say anything this morning?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. I would like to comment on something that they did on Clark Broadcasting today, where Tracy Peterson went out and talked to people in the community about how far they're traveling for Christmas. And all but 2 people were going to stay home and invite people here. So I'm going to call on our community to come in outside either next Sunday, which would be Christmas Eve, for an hour. Sun comes up and is usually up by 7:30. So between 7:30 and 8:30, I think we could spend an hour cleaning up our community. Stockton Road's a pigsty, Tuolumne Road is dirty, Parrott's Ferry's a pigsty, Washington Street's a mess, Monoway's pretty dirty. So maybe we could all spend an hour cleaning up so Santa Claus doesn't think he's coming to a dirty, filthy community of slobs. Then I also think we need to think about the community that we live in and how our behavior affects others. So this last weekend, by my count, we had 4 DUI arrests with associated knucklehead behavior. In the past 10 days, we had 9 physical assault arrests, 1 sexual assault arrest, and 4 vandalism arrests. So there have been too many to count arrests for outstanding warrants and illegal drugs. So this was just in Tuolumne County. I didn't even count Calaveras. So we have also had multiple scams going around from jury duty to the IRS. And is this the kind of behaviors that we want? So in this next year, I would like to suggest that we make some effort to become a community of civility. There is no reason that we cannot have discussions that are courteous, respectful, and informative. The nastiness perpetuated by writers to letters to the editor and online comments on the Union Democrat website, as well as something to think about from Clark Broadcasting, turn my stomach and do not contribute anything more than toxic vitriol. We need to stand up and say we will not tolerate this and elevate the conversations where everyone is free to speak their mind and we can agree to disagree without sinking into the gutter. And I think most of us have been taught that first you take the plank out of your own eye and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. So I would like to ask the supervisors and other county department heads to stand up for more civil and respectful conversations and refuse to appear on programming and in the local media until there is a commitment to the community that our citizens will not be personally maligned in community discussions. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good morning. The minutes of the November 21st Board of Supervisors meeting, approved on December 5th, do not accurately reflect the concerns that I expressed. The minutes state that a member of the public addressed the board on his concerns regarding the use of pesticides near wellheads. An accurate reflection of the concerns I expressed would state that a member of the public addressed the board on his concerns regarding the County Roads Department's inappropriate use of prohibited pesticides near privately owned wellheads in violation of multiple state regulatory codes. I addressed you regarding the topic of vegetation management and the investigation of the Roads Department's inappropriate use of pesticides near wellheads. Systemic negligence by the Roads Department occurred on this Board of Supervisors' watch. County government has yet to reach out in a conciliatory manner to any impacted citizens to take action to remedy this breach of trust. The pesticide violations triggered a lengthy investigation of the Roads Department in 2016, resulting in multiple fines assessed earlier this year. I submit to you again that county government has an ethical and moral responsibility to disclose and discuss these wellhead violations with impacted property owners and residents. Following the failures of the vegetation management program in 2016, the Roads Department subsequently failed to conduct a comprehensive vegetation management program in 2017. A funding gap of $40,000 to $50,000 is the officially stated reason provided by County Council under the Public Records Act. For lack of only 74 to 93 cents per county citizen, the vegetation fuel load alongside county roads this wildfire season was terrifying and inexcusable. Elevated risk of catastrophic wildfire is our new reality as wildfire season lengthens and intensifies, with climate anomalies placing Tuolumne County's communities and economy in peril. Roadside vegetation management can no longer remain a discretionary program in Tuolumne County. An annual, mandatorily funded, regulatory compliant roadside vegetation management program must become a critical function of the Roads Department, with its primary declared purpose being reduction of fire hazard risk. Thank you for your attention this morning.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public wish to speak at this time? Seeing none, we'll move to the agenda. Let me just comment before we get to the consent calendar that item 21 has been pulled and will be held over till the next meeting. Okay, with that, I'll ask the clerk to read the consent calendar, please.
Minutes of the meeting held on December 5th, 2017, approving the Tuolumne County Public Records Act policy, approving a real property lease with the Living Trust of Joan DeSeco for an additional 3 years for the public health and social services protective services use building, approving a contract with the Department of Health Care Services for Behavioral Health Department to provide substance abuse disorder services, accepting the grant funding for the California Department of Public Health for the implementation of the Tuolumne County Public Health Local Oral Health Program, accepting the annual report of the accounting activities relative to the Tribal Road Mitigation Fund, the traffic impact mitigation activities, and the county's other traffic mitigation funds. Adopting a resolution to accept on behalf of the public for public use the public utility easement described in an irrevocable and perpetual dedication by Suburban Propane LP. Approving the notice of completion for contract 1661, the Jackson Street Yankee Hill Road reconstruction project. Approving amendment number 1 to the standard agreement for professional services with MGE Engineering for design services associated with the Aldrine Wards Ferry Road Bridge Replacement Project. Approving the termination of the Columbia Airport lease and certification of acceptance, allowing recordation of the quitclaim deed, assigning real property from Michael B. Brown. Adopting a resolution authorizing the county tax collector to conduct a public auction of tax defaulted properties, approving the conversion of accountant 1-2 to staff services analyst 1-2 in the facilities management, approving the minimum wage range adjustments for library aid relief and minimum wage adjustments and cost of living increases for the behavioral health peer specialist 1-2 benefit and relief, approving the amendment to Article 4 and Article 10 of the 2017 through 19 MOU of the Deputy Sheriff's Association, adopting a resolution reaffirming the Tuolumne County's commitment to the funding sources for the construct of the new Tuolumne County Jail Facility and rescinding Resolution 77-16. Approving correspondence to CAL FIRE for the release of the local assistance for the tree mortality grants, approving the multi-year cooperative services agreement with the United States Department of Agricultural, Animal, and Plant Health Inspection Services, Wildlife Services for wildlife damage management, and the annual financial work plan. And last but not least, approving the reappointment of Jim Stanger and Greg Thompson to the Board of Supervisors Airport Committee, and Edward Gregory, and accepting the resignations of Carl Dambacker and Richard Collier, and directing the clerk to send letters of appreciation and post notice of vacancies.
Thank you. Does any member of the board have any item they wish to pull? Okay, with that, I'll ask for public comment on the consent calendar. Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Supervisor Gray, a second from Supervisor Roder to approve the consent calendar. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay, we'll go to item 22.
Consideration of approving a certificate of recognition for Margaret Durgan upon her retirement from the library.
I know she won't.
So, good morning, Tracy Riggs and Maureen Frank with the County Administrator's Office, and of course Maggie Durgan with the library. So we come before you today to recognize Maggie Durgan for 28 years of county service. Maggie was first hired in October 4th, 1989 as a librarian 1, and she worked herself up to being the supervising librarian. Maggie, if you don't know Maggie, she is humble and a quiet force within the library. She's very confident in what she does without exuding an air of superiority about that. She is incredible. She has done quite a history, and when she leaves, we will see a piece of our history with the library kind of go with her. But she's leaving behind a great legacy. She was there to help install the first computer for the library system. She helped to automate the library, and she also helped to bring about ebooks. So she has done an incredible job. We and the staff will miss her a great deal, and she will be able to now spend some time with her family. She has 8 grandchildren locally, and will be able to really spend some time enjoying them. And then her daughter will be here in a few weeks, and she has a few new grandbabies as well. So, but I do want to let Mo spend some time to talk about Maggie. She spent a few more years working with Maggie than I did, but we are asking that you would recognize Maggie today for all of her years of service.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be up here in front of you to talk about Maggie. What a wonderful person. She was incredible with the patrons. Never turned anyone away, whether it was something directly related to a library services or, as a library typically gets, people that are just in search of a friendly face, or where do I go to find out about something, or how can I find out about a job, or what resources do we have? Maggie was always there to help them out. We've had some, in the years that I was working with the library department, we had a few very tough cases in regards to homeless people and people that were on the edge. And the library staff, including with Maggie's direction and Anita's, didn't stop at, this is all I have to do. This is what I do. No, they looked at it as, we're part of the community. How can we help these people get the resources that they need? There was never any request that was turned down. It's just phenomenal how much Maggie and the staff over there care about our citizens and really want to make it a better community. So I applaud Maggie for all her years of service. We are going to miss her as a community, but we know that she's still around, and hopefully we can tap into her every now and then. So thank you.
Thank you. Before I entertain a motion to approve this resolution, I would like to offer comments from the dais here first, and then the public.
Well, Mr. Chair, I had the opportunity to grill Maggie last week, but just to add to what Mo and Tracy said, I'll just say again, she really stepped up as we were between our last, director of library services and now our new one, Deb, and really exerted leadership that we needed desperately at the library. And again, your contributions are immeasurable, and we are really going to miss that smiling face. But I always put out the offer, you can come back and volunteer, right?
There was nothing affirmative there about that. Well, yesterday I had the opportunity to have lunch with Maggie and the library group from Groveland, and I did express my thanks. But I, as I said yesterday, we were such a bad state financially there in 2009, and if Maggie and the group hadn't spoke up, I don't know if we would have a library today. It was that bad. So thank you so much, Maggie.
Go ahead, Supervisor.
Yeah. I do know that we most likely would not have had a library today, except for the exceptional work that you've done. And I just hope that you won't be a stranger to the library, that you'll bring those grandkids back, and you can be a patron, and then you can tell us what's wrong with it. But again, this county could not have gotten through the past several years without your dedication, your hard work, and more than anything, your passion for the libraries. And thank you so very, very much. We will miss you, but Godspeed to you, and enjoy your life.
Thank you.
Congratulate you, and also thank you for all of your hard work and everything you did to help us survive through the difficult recession and everything that we had to go through. And the library has become an easy target oftentimes when money gets tight, and you helped us figure out creative ways to get past that. And it's so important for our community. So we are so grateful for your contributions. And everyone said we wish you happy life as you move into the next chapter and enjoy your retirement with your family and all the things I'm sure you have you want to do. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Maggie, we got a gag order on you for a little bit yet. First of all, I want to also thank you. 28 years of service is an incredible contribution to this community. And, you know, the Founding Fathers knew the importance of libraries, and they instituted the Library of Congress, for instance. The importance of having that asset available to the people was really important. And the library in Tuolumne County is not the library the Founding Fathers contemplated. They didn't have all these things, and Maggie has been part of keeping our library relevant in the community. Drive by there and see how the parking lot is full when the library is open. It is absolutely amazing. People go there for all sorts of things, and they run programs for our kids. The contribution is so immense, and updating and keeping the renewal of the library foremost has been what this lady's done for us, and that's no small contribution. Every man, woman, and child in this county needs to say thank you to Maggie Durgan for being there for us. And you know, she's quite humble, but except right now, I think she's nervous, but she almost always smiles, and that smile is infectious. And I think she brings more to the community than any of us realize. And I know that there are people standing by to take over and keep our library moving. But Maggie Durgan, you will be missed. There is no way that you can retire and not leave an emptiness in all our hearts and in our operation over there. So thank you very much. I'm going to offer, before we vote on this and get a motion, is that if there's anybody from the public here that wishes to say anything to Maggie, now is the time.
Duke York, speaking as a citizen of Tuolumne County. Maggie just helped me out with the Children's Holiday Party, our 34th annual. They had the bookmobile there. They gave out 450 books to the needy children of Tuolumne County, and they every year contribute to the success of that party. And just wanted to again thank Maggie for all of her contributions. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, well, before we can move forward, we need to officially approve this recognition. So do I hear a motion?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Supervisor Rotifer. I have seconds from both Royce and Gray, and I'll accept those. And so with that, pardon?
Give it to Evan. Evan was.
You can take
was
Evan.
first.
Youth before beauty.
I mean, look, setting records and new precedents, that's what she's been doing. We might as well do that, too. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried unanimously. And I know if Sherry were here, she'd be honoring her, too. I want to come down and read this. Okay. Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors Certificate of Recognition in honor of Margaret Durgan for her steadfast commitment to the patrons of the public library system. The Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors joins the library and the community in extending its heartfelt appreciation to Maggie for her 28 years of dedicated service on the occasion of her retirement on December 31st, 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in saying thank you. Lost for words. A lady of words.
Oh, thank you very much. I really do want to commend the board, especially this board, for knowing how important libraries are and being able to pull us through really hard times and all kinds of things, not just budget, but other things, and encouraging, giving us encouragement, the library, and to thank the staff there because they put the patrons first, and that's what it's all about. And you've all said exactly what the library does already, so I don't have to brag about it anymore. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maggie Durgan. Okay, item 23.
Consideration of approving certificates of recognition for Sergeant Patrick Griswold and Corporal Brian Raposa upon their retirements.
My favorite sheriff.
Well, Board, good morning. Thank you for allowing us to spend some time. I do want to say something before we forget about or move on to this next one. You know, when you think about the library, that's at least 3 generations that young lady had touched, and that's really remarkable. So, you know, kudos for her and for her work and her commitment to the learning of our youth, and that's very important. So, I too want to echo the comments. So, thank you so much. It is my pleasure and honor, and also somewhat of a not disappointment. Sadness that I stand before you to recognize 2 friends of mine that I've had the pleasure of working with, and for the first one, Brian Raposa. I know Evan Supervisor Royce knows the Raposas because he went to Curtis Creek. Mrs. Raposa, I can't say her name without choking up because she was just a beautiful person. But so, anyways, we're here to recognize. Corporal Brian Raposa. And so if we can have Brian come up here, I know his wife's here also. They wouldn't, see, look at that. I don't even have to say anything. He's right here. So if you don't mind, I would like to go ahead and read this. This Board of Supervisors recognizes Corporal Brian Raposa for his service to the citizens of Tuolumne County. Corporal Raposa began his law enforcement career in 1990. Now, what month? Okay, so September, that meant that Brian replaced me because during that time I went to the academy, and so I'm gonna, and I was the only one that went to the academy during that month. So I'm gonna guess that Brian, I was on his oral board. See, look at that. Okay, I even had good judgment back then. Brian started with the Tuolumne County Sheriff's Office as a jail deputy sheriff recruit. Corporal Raposa began his service and career with the Tuolumne County Sheriff's Office, where he worked for 6 years while serving in the Army Reserve. Brian served in the Army for 8 years, 2 of which were active duty in communications. He then worked as a correctional officer at Sierra Conservation Center from 1996 through 1998. He then returned to us to continue his career with Tuolumne County in 2000. Brian was promoted to corporal, so that's 17 years that he has served in this position as corporal. Brian has had many collateral assignments during his time in the jail while working for the Tuolumne County Sheriff's Office, and we are proud of the work that he has done. Brian has been an integral part of the Sheriff's Office. His 25-year tenure is a testament to his passion for his job, a job that he did well. I will say that he did great. We are sorry to see Corporal Raposa go, but wish him the very best in his retirement from a long and outstanding career. Can you imagine being in jail for 25 years?
Eventually they put parole.
That's a life sentence for some. 25 to life, that's right. Now the Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors does hereby join the Tuolumne County Sheriff's Office in extending its heartfelt thanks and appreciation to Brian Raposa for his 25 years of dedicated service to the residents of Tuolumne County on the occasion of his retirement on December 25th. Merry Christmas. And wishes him good fortune in all of his future endeavors. So I present to you Corporal Brian Raposa on his retirement. You want to say something, Brian? Yeah, you can say something. You got to take your wife.
Well, first
He
of all,
seems happy, Sheriff.
I'd like to thank Sheriff Mealy and the County of Tuolumne for allowing me to serve for all these years, to be part of the family and the community. Especially, I'd like to thank my wife.
You know, there's only 4 left that have an ID number of 1200. When we started, we changed our IDs for identification purposes in the Sheriff's Office. Brian and Pat, Brian, you are 1283, and Pat, you are 1293. And then Nancy Baker, she's 1270 something. And then me. And there's no more 1200. So there's some history that is leaving the Sheriff's Office here. So let's talk about Sergeant Patrick Griswold. Pat's here with his wife and 2 sons, right? And mother-in-law, his best man in his wedding, Big Ron back there. And so why don't you guys stand up here? Yeah, see? There's Pat's family there. And then you're his son also, right? Yeah, I know that. So you're trying to camouflage there. Okay. So this Board of Supervisors recognizes Patrick Griswold for his service to the citizens of Tuolumne County. Sergeant Griswold began his law enforcement career in 1991. Patrick, or Pat, as he is better known, started with the Tuolumne County Sheriff's Office as a jail deputy sheriff recruit. Sergeant Griswold began his service and career in the Air Force in 1983. He was awarded an Achievement Medal and Good Conduct Medal before leaving the Air Force as a sergeant in 1987. In 1993, Pat became a training officer, and in 1996 was promoted to sergeant. So for 21 years, he's been a sergeant for us. In 2014, Pat was assigned as the jail administrative sergeant. Pat has many collateral assignments during his time in the jail while working for the Tuolumne County Sheriff's Office. We're proud of the work that he has done. Pat has been an integral part in the Sheriff's Office. His 26-year tenure is a testament to his passion for his job and the job that he did well. Again, I will say that he did a great and outstanding job. We are sorry to see Sergeant Griswold go, but wish him the very best in his retirement from a long and outstanding career. You know, again, 25 years to life, or 26 years. Now the Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors does hereby join the Tuolumne County Sheriff's Office in extending its heartfelt thanks and appreciation to Patrick Griswold for his 26 years of dedicated service to the residents of Tuolumne County on the occasion of his retirement on December 26th, 2017, and wish him good fortune in all of his future endeavors. And before I turn the mic over to him and we give him an ovation, I do want to thank him for the things that he has done. 26 years is a long time to be in jail, serving the public. And, both of these men, when you take away, one of the things that are, as Supervisor Hanvelt talked about with the forefathers, with the Library of Congress, one of the things that we are blessed with is our liberties. And when people are in custody, we take those liberties away. They're not free to go. They're not free to do a lot of things. But yet they are still people that are here in this great country. And it is a testament to the men and women in our county and across this nation that serve each and every day to protect those people that are in custody. And I think that sometimes that is overshadowed. It is one of those things that are thankless. And I want to thank them for their work, for their dedication, for their commitment, and I have to thank their wives and their children because they were a part of this also. So I do want to congratulate Sergeant Pat Griswold and recognize him. Board.
I didn't know what I was going to say. Thank you, Board, Sheriff. Obviously, I have to thank my wife. She's been there, supported me the whole way, and my kids for missing some of their stuff growing up, working shift work and all of that. But I also have to thank the people that I work with and those that work in the jail, and those that have worked in the jail, understand what it's like to work in the jail, and know that it's not the same as working out on the street. It's a different environment, no windows, so when you get to see daylight, it's refreshing when you're dealing with what you're dealing with all day long. So I have to recognize those people that Brian and I work alongside because they're the unsung people that you just don't see doing a hard job. So, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. We do need to approve your official get-out-of-jail-free cards. But I'd like to give the dais a chance to comment.
Yeah, I've got a couple of things to say. First of all, if you haven't taken a tour of our county jail, you've missed a real treat. And yes, I'm being facetious, okay? I've been in there twice, on tours both times, okay? Sheriff's still hunting me. But I tell people that the only thing worse than working in our county jail is being an inmate in our county jail. I mean, these guys and the people that they work with go to work in, without a doubt, the worst working environment that I can imagine. I have taken a tour of our state prison out on O'Burns Ferry Road. I was more uneasy in our county jail than I was in any one of the 3 yards at the state prison. That's why we're building a new jail, and it's too bad you guys can't hang around and have a little bit better working environment. There might be one window in there. The other thing that, I want to talk about is these guys go to work every day not knowing what might happen to them, okay? Physically, they put their lives on the line, as do all of our sheriff's deputies, both in the jail and out on the street. And so when you get to 25 or 26 years, it's doubly special. And I do want to echo the sheriff's comments and each one of these individuals that is retiring today. And having been in a business before where You risked your life now and then. It's important to recognize the families, because when they go to work, the family doesn't necessarily know when they're coming home, or if they're coming home, or if they're coming home in one piece. And that stress wears on you day after day. So congratulations to both of you gentlemen. Thank you very much for your service to our county, and also to our country in the case of Patrick. And God bless you for all that you've done, and again, Godspeed, and enjoy your retirement. You've earned it. Thank you.
Gentlemen, I too would like to thank you for your service and dedication and sacrifices you put in over these 25, 26 years to serve our county and our people, keeping peace here. And I want to congratulate you. I'm excited for you guys both to go move on and enjoy yourselves in the future. Brian, your mom was one of my absolute favorite people of all time.
I think Supervisor Royce and Supervisor Rutherford covered pretty much everything. I think that a lot of people in the community or in the world today don't really understand what it is like to do your job, to be inside all the time. The sheriff mentioned, incarcerated for 25 years or 26 years in the case. It's got to be difficult, and I commend you both for being able to do that job, and certainly thank you for your service. Thank you.
Okay, my turn. Look, they pretty much said it all, but I have to tell you, I don't know what gets you guys up in the morning going to work and how you have a smile on your face. Well, maybe that smile's new.
This is the biggest smiles these guys have ever had.
Now, we'll talk about that later, Sheriff. But the people you serve and you take care of don't exactly treat you necessarily with the respect and honor that you deserve. So it's got to be tough at the end of the day. You got to be spent. And that dedication is just something I personally couldn't do your job. I know that, and so I'm much more appreciative of what you do. But the public doesn't understand sometimes, because we just assume those things happen. But it's only dedicated individuals that make it happen. And so you deserve your retirement. We want to congratulate you on that. And again, thank you. That isn't enough. But I'm going to ask the public if anybody from the public wants to say anything before we approve these get-out-of-jail-free cards. Okay. That, I'll ask for a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
I'm going to give the motion here in the second here. Okay. Even though they both seconded. Motion by Rutherford, second by Gray. Awesome. Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried unanimously.
Thank you, Board.
I have to just add one more comment. I was once asked if we ever had any fun up here, because I commented about how serious the job was up here and how seriously we take it. But it really is fun to send dedicated people off into retirement and wish them well. That is a nice thing to do. It's one of the best things we get to do. So thank you all. Okay, we're going to go to item number 24.
This is consideration of approving the Lime Kiln Road Bridge Replacement Project, adopting the mitigated negative declaration, preparing for the project, including the mitigation, monitoring, and reporting program, which determines that the project will not result in significant adverse impacts to the environment.
Ms. Helen.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and other board members. Tanya Allen, Supervising Engineer for the Community Resources Agency. Lime Kiln Bridge, crossing Curtis Creek, qualified for replacement. Sorry, this microphone is not working. Staff secured funding through the Federal Highway Bridge Program, and in 2012 began preliminary engineering for the project. The proposed replacement bridge will be a 3-span, cast-in-place concrete slab structure on a new alignment approximately 150 feet downstream of the existing bridge. The new structure will maintain a rural look and a low profile, an aesthetic railing to the similar area bridges. In August of 2017, a mitigated negative declaration was signed by the environmental coordinator pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act and circulated for public review. The county review period closed on September 21st, 2017, and the county received comments only from the Central Valley Regional Water Quality Control Board. Upon your board's approval, the Lime Kiln Bridge Replacement Project and the mitigated negative declaration, staff will be able to commence the right-of-way activities, including permitting and right-of-way acquisition. Construction is planned in the spring of 2019, but this is all dependent on the right-of-way activities. It is recommended that your board adopt the mitigated negative declaration, including the mitigation monitoring and reporting program prepared for the Lime Kiln Road Bridge project based on the findings A through F, as well as the additional findings listed in 2A through C. I have Quincy here to answer any questions from the environmental coordinator, as well as myself for the project.
Not a question so much. You know, sometimes we talk about government going slow. Looking at the staff report, we addressed this in 1998. How old were you in 1998?
Well,
Yeah, that's not an
No.
it's okay.
Strike that.
I withdraw that. But yeah, the point is, it just takes so long to get something like this done, and I just have to commend staff for always keeping with it, just going down the road and dotting the i's and crossing the t's, so we can finally get to some place where we're actually do something. So with that, I'd be happy to make a motion.
Well, let me see. Any further comments or questions? Is there any public comment or question? Okay, with that, Supervisor Gray.
Yes, I move that we adopt mitigated negative declarations on findings A through F, and also move to approve the Lime Kiln Bridge replacement projects on A, B, and C.
Okay, a motion by Supervisor Gray, second by Supervisor Royce. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank
Thank you.
for your perseverance and hard work. 1998.
Sorry for that hard question.
I would answer it. I'm not embarrassed. Embrace it.
Okay, we'll go to item 25, please.
Consideration of approving the installation of a flagpole in the center of Courthouse Park.
Good morning, Daniel Richardson from the County Administrator's Office. For some time, the county has made several improvements to Courthouse Park. We did some tree work, we took out some bushes, we put in new grass, trying to make enhancements to the park to allow the public to enjoy it. One of the enhancements that we would like to make is to put a flagpole in the center of the park. When we refurbished the park, we took out the old flagpole, which at the time was quite dilapidated. It was wooden. We'd like to, yes, and we have, the top of it is here at the dais. It's been well weathered. We would like to replace it with a metal flagpole, either fiberglass or aluminum. With aluminum allows us to put in one of 4 different colors. And we would like to put that in the center of the park and put shrubs around it, have lighting to light the flagpole at night. We have run this by the Historic Preservation Review Commission, and they were unable to reach a decisive vote. We did request some information from the state as well, their historic commission there, and they did call me, and we discussed this project, whether or not moving the flagpole to the center of the park would negate we'll call it the historicity of the park, making it historical, and they said it would not be a problem to move the flagpole. It would not negate our historical designation. So with that, we are bringing this to the Board of Supervisors for determination on whether or not we would like to put a flagpole at the center of Courthouse Park.
Okay, questions from the board? Look for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Sharon Marovich. I'm representing the Tuolumne Heritage Committee, and I would also reveal to you that I am a member of the Historic Preservation Review Commission. I would like to clarify, I know that it seems like this matter has been pending for quite some time, and Daniel indicated to you that the Commission was unable to provide a recommendation to you. I would like to note in the minutes of our Historic Preservation Review Commission meeting of April 4th, 2016, that's a year and a half ago, what we did, your staff, Ed Hogue, came to our commission to ask our opinion about putting a flagpole in the center of the park. And on a unanimous vote, we said that we believed that it should be installed in its original location and that the Secretary of the Interior standards, which govern historic preservation in National Register sites, should be used as a guide to what the Board of Supervisors does. I'd also like to note in Daniel's report, it's on page 1, he indicates, as originally designed, the flagpole was historically off-center in the northern quadrant and apparently was not intended to be the focal point of the square. The Tuolumne Heritage Committee would like to offer a similar historic perspective on this issue. We believe that the park, which, as I told you, is on the National Register of Historic Places and has been since 2006, should be treated like the American landmark that it is. I appeared before you on May 2nd of this year to ask you to declare May Historic Preservation Month in Tuolumne County. The resolution I asked you to approve was a reaffirmation of the Board of Supervisors' long-standing commitment to preserving Tuolumne County's abundant and significant cultural heritage. And in fact, unless I'm mistaken, on those boards that show your goals and objectives that the Board of Supervisors wish to implement, that are not only on the back wall of this, on the wall of this building, but in various parts of county buildings, preservation of our cultural heritage is listed on them. When I appeared before you on May 2nd, I was pleasantly surprised by the lively discussion that this resolution brought on and how you spoke so genuinely about the importance of preserving our history in a place that matters, which of course is Tuolumne County. Thank you again for supporting this resolution and giving preserving our history such an emphatic validation. Of course, historic preservation is nothing new to county government. In 2008, the county was recognized with a Preserve America designation for doing that over and over again for many years. A few examples, and this is just a few, of the various boards of supervisors' commitments to being good stewards of the public's heritage includes adding an optional historic preservation element to our general plan on December 26th of 1996, creating the Historic Preservation Review Commission, and building a state-of-the-art archive where the written records of Tuolumne County can be preserved for all times. So with this kind of track record, and in view of the fact that Courthouse Square is recognized as an important landmark, it would seem only natural that the board would want to do right by Courthouse Square. The Tuolumne Heritage Committee asks you to consider replicating the original flagpole, putting it back where it was placed in 1936, as Daniel's report indicates, and landscaping the center circle as it appeared in 1936 when the park was dedicated to the people of Tuolumne County. I understand from one of Daniel's reports that when he came to our commission several times this year, several of the plants that Supervisor Ralph originally put in the center of the circle either have thorns or are poisonous, and he suggested that that kind of plant not be put in the center of the park, and we certainly concur with that. These simple actions, replicating the flagpole, putting it back where it was, and restoring the center circle to the landscaping that will actually grow there and not die, as everything you have put there has, be in line with good preservation practices that a National Register property deserves. The Tuolumne Heritage Committee even suggests that the flagpole be made of bug-killed tree to symbolize your, meaning the four of you plus Sherry, your quick and effective response to the massive dead tree problem we have in Tuolumne County. So thus you could add a little extra history to the park. The Sierra Conservation Center could likely make the pole, the measurements for which could be taken from a 15 to 20 foot segment that the city salvaged. And, of course, the globe, which you have in front of you, sat atop that pole for 4 generations. So you have the measurements of that as well. What the Tuolumne Heritage Committee has offered you is an unparalleled opportunity to do what supervisors have been doing for years, taking good care of the public's history. Please give some serious thought to carrying on this precedent at Courthouse Square, which ironically was designed by the late Sonora District Supervisor, Frank Ralph. With such rapid changes taking place in the world today, and with the changes that have taken place in Courthouse Square, surely some of our history can be returned and preserved for all time in the heart of historic Gold Rush Sonora.
Thank you. Are other members of the public wish to make comment at this time? Please.
Jim Phelan, citizen at large. I really don't have a horse in the race for where the flagpole goes, but I would like to commend you about thinking about putting an aluminum flagpole in. You could put it brown with some green stain so it could replicate the dead trees, but we need something. If you put a wooden flagpole back in, Elks just got rid of theirs several years ago because they just don't last, no matter what you do to them. And they're also not, they're easy to vandalize. So I commend the aluminum thought.
Anybody else in the public?
Good morning. I'm Peggy Kingman, citizen at large. I'm opposed to the flagpole because of my own experience in trying to propose an alternative over the last 6 months. Pure frustration. I first proposed an option to the flagpole in the form of a peace pole after an article appeared last July in the Union Democrat saying that a flagpole was not carved into stone. And I thought, okay, perhaps there's something else that would do. And so I proposed it then, by sending each of you, every one of you, a packet explaining what the peace pole proposal was, with a photograph and so on. It was emailed to each of you by the secretary in your office. I also snail mailed a packet containing the same information to every member, all 8 members of the Historical Preservation Review Commission. I never got one response from anyone except one person on the commission did call me. But I never heard from any of you or any of the others that were involved. I also submitted a guest opinion in the Union Democrat explaining the proposal I had made. I was told to contact my supervisor. On August 17th, I went to your office, and Ms. Jamar, at my request, sent an email to my supervisor, Mr. Rotifer of District 4, asking him to please call me to discuss the matter. I never heard from him. On August 29th, nearly 2 weeks later, I emailed Mr. Rotifer directly, asking for the courtesy of a call. To this date, I have had no response from my supervisor. On November 6th, I spoke during the public comment period to the HPRC, the Historical Preservation Review Commission. And as I expected, the commission made no comment. But as unexpected, to my knowledge, they have held no meetings since then, have not even discussed, in even the briefest way, any discussion of the option I presented. If so, I was not notified. Twice, I requested that the subject be placed on the agenda of both the HPRC and the Board of Supervisors. I was told that my request was too late, even though nearly 2 weeks ahead of those meetings. So I am here today because I believe now that I have not been heard or listened to, that your minds are already made up, and that alternate options or opinions from the community are not welcome and may be ignored with impunity. I suggest that many in the community are unenthusiastic and bored by the establishment of yet another flagpole as redundant, and many would support a different option. I dare you to gauge public preference, perhaps by a poll in the Union Democrat, questioning, what is your preference for the centerpiece of Courthouse Square? A flagpole to replace the original. B, a peace pole. C, other. And also, just as an addition from my reading of the historicity requirements, many options can be created keeping historicity intact. Change is allowed, keeping spirit and integrity as the main requirements. With so much ambivalence over the past year, and to my knowledge, that area has been vacant for 11 years, but with so much ambivalence about it, I think the whole issue demands to be revisited, to get it right, and to include the public in your considerations. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member of the public like to say something?
Well, I'm opposed to the flagpole, and you've all heard from me about this. The Historic Preservation has heard from me, I don't know how many times, because this has been on their agenda at least 7 times over the past year and a half. So I haven't seen anyone from the public come in clamoring for a flagpole in Courthouse Park. So Daniel told me it was coming direction from you. So we have a flagpole across the street in front of the Veterans Museum that I find rather improperly taken care of. It's out there day and night and day. Got kind of raggedy. Somebody finally replaced some of the flags earlier this summer, but it's not lit. And then we have a bigger flag over here by the old courthouse where the base is lit, but the flag is not lit. And then in our last big rain and windstorm, that flag blew down. So we can't even take care of the flags that we already have. The Union Democrat does have a big flag, but they put it out and take it down every night. And the courthouse has a flag, and they take it down and put it up. So they're able to take care of theirs. When it first came as the proposal, there was all this argument on historic preservation about it goes over here, no, put it there, we don't want it there, we want it here, blah, blah, blah. And Ed Hogue had said that we would have to light it because the county didn't have the staff or the money to take care of this flag or this flagpole. So at that time, it was estimated, as I recall, to be about $60,000. Then the next time they came back, he came back with a solar proposal. So now it would have solar lighting on it so it could conceivably be lit. But there's still no staff and no money to take care of it. So I don't see anyone clamoring for this flagpole to be there. We don't have the money or the staff to take care of it. Supposedly there's $4,000 in the budget, but I would prefer to see the $4,000 spent on something that we need and not something that maybe we just kind of want. So there's been a lot of damage over at the History Museum from the homeless people who climb over the fence and are sleeping there every night, and the sycamore trees that are tearing up the sidewalk that need to be torn down. And I think that would be a better way of spending our $4,000 than on putting a flagpole that nobody's asked for. Thank you.
Okay. Another call for public comment.
Hello, Mike Albrecht. I just wanted to come up so you saw one person clamoring for that flagpole. There is at least one of us, so I hope you make it happen.
Okay. Last chance for the public. Bring it back to the board.
I also like the flagpole. I keep the flag on my house just about year-round. Right now I don't have any neighbors that are really close to me, but the last street I lived on, just about every single house had a flag out in front. And every time I drove in, it just made me smile, made me proud. And I think that when you talk about Tuolumne County heritage, the old wood pole is not our heritage. It's an object, represents our heritage. But our actual heritage has to do with our attitudes and our community and our actions and our values and all these other things. And I say this all the time when we get into discussions about heritage, and I think that's the thing more than anything that I want to retain is that identity in our hearts as residents of Tuolumne County. And I think this flagpole is a symbol of that. I think that park is a location that represents our community coming together. There's all kinds of things that happen in that park that are wonderful, wonderful things, whether it's Santa Claus out there, the kids that come into the park, or people expressing themselves and their political views in a peaceful way, and or gathering for events. I hosted an event there on 4th of July celebrating Independence Day and our freedom several years ago, and I think this flagpole is awesome. And also, so $2,600, is that what it is, Daniel?
That's the approximate cost to just purchase the pole.
I move we go forward with the aluminum, and I want to pay for it myself. Personally, I will donate $2,600 to buy the flagpole. And it's not a big cost, but I don't want to hear people complain about it. I think it's like I said, it's a symbol that should be respected, and it should be one of the highest things that we revere is our flag and our patriotism. That's my motion.
I feel like I'm on Shark Tank. I'll second the motion, and I'll split the bill with Supervisor Royce.
I can name that tune in one note. Supervisor Gray.
Yeah, I'd like to contribute a third of that also. So there's three of us divided
what's
by
coming.
3. So I think we can still fulfill the statement of our support for our historical preservation by putting the flagpole in the center. I believe that we should put an aluminum pole with a secured mechanism on it. I've had experience before with the outside ropes. It just doesn't make sense. So certainly going to support the flagpole in the center, and I think it's a good place to have it. Thank you.
You seconded, right? I did. Okay. Okay. Pardon?
Yeah.
We'll come back and clarify the motion. Okay. First of all, I got several phone calls about this and conversations. And one of them says, I don't want anything there. Someone say, I don't care if you put a flagpole up or not, but don't make it wood if you do. But generally the consensus was they wanted a flagpole. And one of the comments that I think is important is that the original designer, Supervisor Ralph, included a flagpole. And that in the spirit of the original vision, that the flag was important. And like Supervisor Royce and my other cohorts here, I believe the flag is a symbol, an important symbol of our freedom. It's the reason we're here. It's the reason we're having this conversation and this debate at this very moment. And I love my country and I love my flag. And I think it's important that it be there. But since we're all making offers to join, I am going to suggest that we, since we have one member of the supervisor staff not here, we at least offer her the chance, and we include the motion that the Board of Supervisors will personally pay for that flagpole. Okay? And we'll... board members, yeah. Yeah, yes. That, we'll figure out, stickler for detail here. That's good. Okay, we'll figure it out, yeah. Okay,
aluminum comes in 4 different colors.
Are you asking us to pick a color?
Well, they can be anodized, so it's not painted, it's anodized. So it's bronze, clear, black, or satin. It's in your board report.
Bronze.
We can do that.
Bronze.
Second agree?
Second agree.
Okay. With that, we've had public comment. We've had volunteers for all sorts of things, including donations. I'll ask the question. You're voting with your pocketbook. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried unanimously, and we'll go from there. Okay. We got past that, and that's good. So now we'll move to to item 26, if you'd read that.
Consideration of adopting a resolution adopting the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan.
Good morning, members of the board. Ethan Billigmeyer, Tuolumne County Office of Emergency Services. The item before you today is consideration of approving the updated 2018 Tuolumne County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan. The background on this plan is basically that it's addressing the multiple hazards that we have in the county. So going back and looking at the original plan that was written by staff, what they did is they assessed all the different hazards that are potentially impacting Tuolumne County, and then they rated those and scored those based on the impacts that they could potentially present. The plan, it has to be updated every 5 years, so it was done in 2004, and then in 2013, we had a contractor, Category 5, that came in and completely rewrote the plan with input from staff and from the public, and they assessed new scores to those vulnerabilities and those hazards. And once we had those, then the staff we recently just updated that from October to December to do a new update after the 5 years had lapsed. And so what we did is we went through the whole plan again, and we took a look at the hazards and the vulnerabilities that were attached to those. And We actually had a public meeting on November 17th I believe it was November 17th. Let me look through my notes here. Yeah. To include the public in on that, and we had some good input. We had about 7 members of the public come. They gave us their input on what we had in the plan. We integrated some of those options into the plan, into our vulnerability assessments. Let's see. And one of the important things that we added was we did add 4 additional participating jurisdictions to bring the total jurisdictions now participating up to 23, which is a really decent number. There's more that chose not to participate. We had Chicken Ranch. We reached out to a few other ones that they chose not to participate, but we were able to add the Tuolumne Band of Miwok Indians, Tuolumne County Superintendents of Schools, Tuolumne Sanitary District, Lake Don Pedro Community Services District, and Soldier School District. So that was really good to bring more people into this plan. Obviously, the more people that participate into this plan and do this, it just adds to the overall safety of our county, because each jurisdiction now has assessed their hazards and has assigned what the most important things are that they need to accomplish over the next few years in order to keep their particular jurisdiction safe. As you might have guessed, in Tuolumne County, our highest hazards are fire and extreme weather, as we've seen, unfortunately, lately with the fires that are raging through California still now into December. Those kind of fire and extreme weather kind of go hand in hand. A lot of these fires we've seen have been pushed through the wind events and things like that. And, we've been dealing with drought and the subsequent tree mortality that comes along with that. So fire and extreme weather are definitely 2 of the highest hazards in Tuolumne County, and they really have been. That hasn't changed for a while. We have some tertiary hazards like earthquake, where we're not really on a fault zone. However, if there was an earthquake that were to happen in a neighboring jurisdiction, we would definitely see impact from that, because we would more than likely have residents evacuating into our area. So, excuse me, the plan does address that. While we may not have a direct hazard for something like that, we will have impacts from that cascading impacts from that. And so there is a draft plan available for your review. It was quite large with the overarching plan and on all the jurisdictions. So that is with the board clerk for your review. If you have, let's see. So the plan, what we're going to do here, what we're looking for today is for you guys to approve the draft plan and authorize the county administrator to make any minor changes to that plan if there are any. The next step after that would be to send it to Cal OES for their review. If they don't have anything that they need to add or change, then they'll send it on to FEMA. FEMA will review it. That process could take about 6 to 8 months for them or possibly even up to a year for them to finally fully review it and get it back to us. The important part about why having FEMA review it and approve it is that what it does is it opens us up to being able to do pre-disaster projects. So if we recognize that we have say culverts or areas where we know that they're going to probably fail during a disaster event, this allows us to apply for the grants to do the work ahead of time. So as long as that is identified in our plan as a potential hazard, then we are able to apply for those grants and do that work ahead of time to try to pre-mitigate or mitigate any of those problems that could arise from flooding or from any sort of natural or man-made disaster. So an example of Kewen Mill Road, the project that we're working on up there, we were able to apply for some of that funding because we did have an approved hazard mitigation plan through FEMA. So it's important. It's an important it's an important step to have FEMA approve this and get this adopted, because obviously, as we're seeing more and more, we're seeing problems with our extreme weather, storms, things like that. So if there's any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Okay, Supervisor Gray?
Just a quick one for clarification. This does allow us to apply for grants, but does it also allow the special districts to apply separately?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Just a comment for the general public. The fact that Tuolumne County had a hazard mitigation plan in place when tree mortality hit us gave us a huge advantage. We were the only county when that started that had that in place. And that's one of the reasons why your county has been a leader in making things happen with this tree mortality issue in the state. So I want to congratulate the staff for doing that job ahead of time, and it is up for renewal. So with this, I will ask for public comment on this subject at this time before we ask for a motion.
Well, there were only 7 members of actually, there weren't 7 members of the public. There were 2 other county OES officers, I guess, or heads that attended, and I think there was a Forest Service and a CAL FIRE person. So there were really only 3 of us from the public that were there. And that was too bad, because it must be this big, and it was pretty impressive. I thought you all did a wonderful job. I think it's 21 stakeholders now that you got?
23. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So it was very impressive, and people should be proud of that. And, of course, Tracy's my favorite because she just gets us all this money. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further public comment?
Oh, thank you.
I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
Mr. Vice Chair, I move that we approve the resolution adopting the updated 2018 multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan and approve the county administrator as the authorized signatory and to make any minor non-substantive changes on the final plan.
Okay, a motion by Supervisor Gray, a second by Supervisor Royce. Any further comment? Then I'll ask the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. We'll move to item 27, please.
Consideration of approving the Master Stewardship Agreement in the Stanislaus National Forest and a letter of understanding with Yosemite Stanislaus Solutions.
Good morning, Vice Chair and board members. Liz Peterson, Tuolumne County Administrator's Office. I have with me Scott Tangenberg, the Deputy Forest Supervisor for the Stanislaus National Forest, and Chris Trott, the Chair of YSS, Yosemite Stanislaus Solutions, as well as lots of friends behind me. Okay, so I am pleased and excited this morning to present to you for your consideration a master stewardship agreement with the Stanislaus National Forest and as well as a letter of understanding with the Yosemite Stanislaus Solutions, YSS. Just a little background here on how we got to this place. There is no doubt that your board has been extremely vocal and supportive of proactive forest management strategies. With the increase in catastrophic fires within and around Tuolumne County, your board has consistently acknowledged the need to protect the forest and the watersheds. Healthy forests and watersheds provide important ecological, social, and economic resources locally as well as across the state. It is for this reason that the county is a member of YSS, the 24-member collaborative group that was formed in 2010. YSS is a highly diverse coalition of interests who share a common goal of restoring and maintaining healthy forests and watersheds, fire-safe communities, and sustainable local economies using a science-based approach. I just want to read the membership list of YSS because I just think it's amazing and impressive, so if you'll bear with me. YSS is currently made up of the following entities: the American Forest Resource Council, the American Motorcycle Association, Blue Mountain Minerals, California Forestry Association, Central Sierra Audubon Society, Central Sierra Environmental Resource Center, CT Bioenergy Consultants, Dan Backer Construction, Friends of Berkeley Tuolumne Camp, Groveland Trailheads, Merced Dirt Riders, Mule Deer Foundation, Pine Mountain Lake Homeowners Association, Sierra Pacific Industries, Stanislaus Trail Bike, County of Tuolumne, Tuolumne County Alliance for Resources and the Environment, Tuolumne County Farm Bureau, Tuolumne County Resource Conservation District, Tuolumne County Sportsmen, Inc., Tuolumne County Group of the Sierra Club, Tuolumne Miwok Tribal Council, Tuolumne River Trust, and the Yosemite Deer Herd Advisory Council. So this group has been meeting for quite some time. Just to bring you back a handful of months ago, Supervisor Hanvelt and I attended a field trip, as are sometimes organized by YSS, in the Stanislaus National Forest with some folks from the region, including Barney Gant, the Deputy Regional Forester for Region 5. When we talked at the field trip, there was some enthusiasm to see some work, some of these proactive forest health measures done on the forest, but a little bit of frustration about how do we move forward to actually make some work happen. The idea of a master stewardship agreement was brought up, and Supervisor Hanvelt honestly jumped on the idea as this could be the solution to finally get us to a healthier place here in the Stanislaus. So the county, myself, and others, Supervisor Hanvelt, met with Forest Service multiple times, the YSS leadership team multiple times, and we all kind of agreed together that a master stewardship agreement would be the way that we could move forward. There was some discussion about who would be the partner of a master stewardship agreement, and it was determined that the county would be best suited to move that forward. So here we are. Just a little more information for yourself and for the public. Master stewardship agreements are 10-year agreements between a partner and the Forest Service that are used to complete mutually beneficial restoration activities on national forest lands. The Forest Service and the partner together identify high-priority project areas, and the partner implements the restoration activities throughout the course of these 10 years. There is the funding comes from 80% contribution from the Forest Service and a 20% match from the partner. The match can show up in a variety of different ways, including grant funding, in-kind contributions, volunteer hours, that kind of thing. And that is later discussed as we move toward project development. A master stewardship agreement is ultimately an umbrella document. It describes the general restoration activities that will take place over the course of 10 years. There is no funding associated with a master stewardship agreement. However, there are supplemental project agreements which fall under the umbrella document of a master stewardship agreement. Those are shortened to be called SPAs. So once the master stewardship agreement is in place, work on the ground is implemented through a SPA. And that is in your board packet. There's a template there, not only of the stewardship agreement, but also of a blank SPA, just so you can see what we're talking about here. The SPAs detail the project boundaries, the specific restoration activities that will take place, the implementation measures that are expected, and expected outcomes, and the project cost. It is at that time when we determine the scope of the project, that the cost is determined, and then the details of the Forest Service contribution and the match contribution from the partner are ironed out. SPAs typically utilize subcontractors for implementation, but ultimately it is the partner, so it would be the county who assumes the ultimate liability. It is a similar process to what we're experiencing with the tree mortality and how we're running that program as far as liability goes. So, YSS now, because the Master Stewardship Agreement was truly developed through a partnership with YSS, our shared goals and our common vision, it is important that the county maintain that common vision with YSS. It is in your memo, but I just want to mention YSS because it is a coalition and made up of multiple entities. YSS itself is not a legal entity, and so they are not able to enter into the Master Stewardship Agreement. However, we feel, and by we I mean the Natural Resource Committee, the Forest Service, and YSS, feel that YSS involvement is integral to the success of the restoration activities that will take place on the Stanislaus National Forest through this Master Stewardship Agreement. Because of the coalition's membership diversity, which I read to you earlier, as well as their expertise, all of the members provide a wealth of knowledge and experience on these types of projects. So attached also for your consideration is the letter of understanding between the county and YSS. This is not a legally binding document, again, because YSS is not a legal entity, but it does describe the relationship between us, the two parties. It's kind of a process document if you want to look at it that way. The notable things in the letter of understanding for your board to be aware of is that, first, YSS members will contribute their expertise to the partner ultimately for project development. Secondly, the county will implement projects or SPAs only that have received consensus. Let me say that again. The county will only implement projects that have received consensus support from YSS. And thirdly, the county will intend to subcontract, or does intend to subcontract with the Tuolumne River Trust, a member of YSS, a nonprofit member, I should say, for project management, planning, and fundraising. And we've talked about this with our county administrator, and this, we feel because of, or he feels because of their expertise, their nonprofit status, their relationship with YSS, their membership in YSS, that they are the fit to do that, to subcontract to them, which is why we are intending to do that and wouldn't be going out for a traditional RFP process. So, having said all of that, the next steps are that if your board does choose to approve this Master Stewardship Agreement, staff will work with, will start the contract process with Tuolumne River Trust and begin working on SPA development. We will primarily start with Farm Bill approved, categorically excluded areas in the forest. And these are areas that, because they are designated this way, that the NEPA planning process would be expedited. Staff will also begin to seek grant funding as the county's match contribution. We will also work with risk management and county council to ensure that we have the proper liability measures in place to protect the county during project implementation. This Master Stewardship Agreement, as you've probably gathered, has been discussed extensively with all kinds of folks. With Forest Service, they have been extremely helpful to me and others in answering questions and helping to walk through this process. The YSS leadership team has been extremely supportive and helpful, and what you see here has consensus from all of the YSS leadership team, rather the whole YSS, the larger group actually. They have put this forward with their support. This has just been discussed extensively with County Council. She has been extremely helpful to me in ironing out some of the details. Our County Administrator has also been very involved in the discussions. And ultimately, the Natural Resource Committee, we did discuss this at our December meeting. Supervisor Brennan was there and did express her support for this, for the details that I ironed out, the specifics with the letter of understanding and the relationship with YSS. And so, I am here today once again requesting you approve the Master Stewardship Agreement with the Stanislaus National Forest and the letter of understanding with Yosemite Stanislaus Solutions. Thank you.
Before I go to ask for other comment, I'd like to add a few things to that. We have long lamented our ability, every member of the team, YSS, the Forest Service, the county, over our ability to make things happen on the forest. It's always been unsatisfactory. And I've come to the conclusion the real problem was we didn't have a mechanism to do it. We've developed this mechanism now, and so I believe we can move forward. We talk pace and scale. It's been 4 years since rimfire was fully contained, a little more. And the sad part is we haven't been able to do anything till now. Now, this gives us the mechanism to move forward. We're now the fourth largest fire in the history of California. That's a sad story. We've seen our neighbors and our friends around the state experience the same things that we've experienced. Fire behavior beyond control, frequency increasing, and people have been hurt and even died. And so it's important that we step up, and I believe this can be a model, if you will, for other forests and other areas of the state, and maybe even the western states, to move forward to manage their forests in the fashion they need to be managed. And so I want to thank the YSS team for doing what they do. They've put forward this, and they're committed to rolling up their sleeves. This gives us the impetus to do this. And before I turn it back over, I want to read to you a note I got from Barney Gant. Barney is Deputy Regional Forester. I expect the Regional Forester would have done this, except he's in bed, ill. So anyway, here's what he says. He says, Tuolumne County Supervisors, we are very encouraged by the long-standing partnerships between the Forest Service, Tuolumne County, Yosemite Stanislaus Solutions, and the Tuolumne River Trust. Region 5 is looking forward to continuing this tradition with the establishment of a master stewardship agreement. Public lands belong to the public, and we welcome the efforts of this collective partnership to manage this landscape for the benefit of our local communities and the people of those communities. As mutual stewards of the National Forest, we appreciate the opportunity to enter into a formal agreement which we expect to improve our prospects to both fund and implement projects that improve the lives of the public we serve. Our cooperative effort to increase the pace and scale of ecological restoration is only made easier by relationships such as these and agreements such as this. We wholeheartedly support this agreement in order to further our mutual goals of providing fire-resilient landscapes and stable, successful economies. So the region is behind this. I believe that this is the way we will move forward. Obviously, we won't jump into this and be doing a 50,000-acre project or anything like that instantaneously, but we'll move forward in helping to manage the public lands in our county, and I think it's important. The other comment I want to make is the letter of understanding, when I read it, is absolutely fine except for one thing. The purpose statement is more a statement of the problem, and you can read that if you like. So I want to add another comment to the end of that, and I've got copies for people and send some that way, and there's even copies for you guys, I think, down here. We'll get them to you. But here's I'll read it. We add one statement, and it says, recognizing the serious threat the current condition of our forest represents, our collective purpose is to restore the Stanislaus National Forest within the boundaries of Tuolumne County to a fire-resilient, age-diverse, species-diverse, and healthy forest through a comprehensive series of coordinated vegetation management and restoration projects. That is our purpose. And if we can add that, I fully endorse this, and I'm going to look for more comments from the team, if they have any, before I come back to the board.
Good morning, Scott Tangenberg, Deputy Forest Supervisor for the Stanislaus National Forest. As Liz expressed, I too am extremely excited to be here with you today to see this next phase of our cooperative relationship move forward. Since I arrived here in the aftermath of the Rim Fire, I've been amazed at the cooperative spirit that exists between a hugely diverse group of people in Tuolumne County. And that's something for Tuolumne County to be very proud of. This formal master stewardship agreement just takes that to the next level and provides us with a more structured, more explicit vehicle to demonstrate to everyone across the state that we are serious about our cooperative relationship. And that seriousness can result in real beneficial action on the ground. So I thank you for the consideration. Thank you for all the effort that's gone in to putting this together. Thank you for the continued partnership that we all benefit from.
Good morning, Chris Trott, the chair of I can't even say it. YSS. How's that? That's better. I just want to say a couple things here. I've had the privilege the last 2 years of being the chair of YSS, and Liz read off the list of the groups that are participants in YSS, but it's the people that make the group that represent those organizations. And it's been an absolute pleasure to work with them. I mean, it's quite the cohesive group, but diverse group that has been developed, and everyone comes together voluntarily and rolls up their sleeves and works on things that we have in common. And so increasing the pace and scale of restoration of not only the rim fire, but the green Stanislaus National Forest is what everyone is focused on. And so I do want to say that this master stewardship agreement, I'm agreeing with you, Supervisor Hanvelt, that it represents a real promising partnership between Tuolumne County and the Forest Service and YSS. YSS has been really successful, actually, in pulling together grant funding to restore the rimfire, to help the Forest Service with that. But we've been rather frustrated in our efforts to try to increase the pace and scale of restoration treatments in the green forest. I mean, we came up with a plan. We had a 5-year plan. We went out to get funding from several different places, and were turned down over and over and over again. So we believe this master stewardship agreement represents a way that we can actually get something done. So we recognize also, YSS recognizes that the bulk of the work for this whole thing is going to be on YSS's plate, to come up with the projects, to collaboratively develop them and put them forward in a timely manner, and get things moving. And we are hoping that because the county is the partner with the Forest Service, that the county will be able to attract the kind of funding, better attract the kind of funding that's going to be needed for planning and if of this thing. And so we're really hoping that that's going to be true. And if the county can come up with the funding, we'll make it happen. We'll come up with projects that can be implemented. Just so you know, we have 2 potential projects, supplemental projects, SPAs, I guess, identified already that already have NEPA done on them, that we're going to be discussing as soon as this whole thing comes together, and looking at. And finally, as chair, I probably at almost every meeting I say, well, when all is said and done, more is said than done. And frankly, we're really tired of talking about this, and we're ready to get something done. So I hope that you all approve this today going forward. Thank you.
I think one thing we left out in this conversation was that once we get these projects going, any financial excess that's generated by any of these projects remains on the forest and can be used to grow it. And I've been talking to a number of people at the state level who are supportive of exactly this and helping us get the funding to get this thing kicked off. So I'm very excited about making things happen, and I'm meeting with some of them tomorrow, by the way. So I'm just really excited, and I appreciate the partnership. And we've lamented this thing together. We can't get anything done. This is how we're going to do it. So thank you. Any more comments? I want to bring it back to the board. Supervisor Royce. Thank you, sir. This has been a dream, hasn't it? Yes. I got to share your microphone electronically. They cut him off.
Yeah. I'd just like to highlight how big of a deal this is for people that don't really deal with this stuff day in and day out. This is a huge milestone for the Forest Service, for a board, for YSS, and people involved in natural resources industries and in environmentalism. This is it's an enormous feat that so much work has been done to get to here, and we're about to start actually seeing results. This mechanism that you talk about is a fantastic way to use the resources that are in our forests to take care of the forest and do that locally, and to see the controversy and the polarized nature of how forests are managed be conquered by this group. I just want to commend the group for all the people that sat through all those meetings. I've done it, and I can tell you there's a lot of people that are a lot more patient than myself. It can be frustrating and mind-numbing at times, but the persistence and the patience is going to start paying off. And truly what this means, this is a catalyst to help keep our industries viable in Tuolumne County. This protects our families, protects jobs and our businesses that depend on the forest for their livelihoods. It also is a way to improve the environment, to improve habitats, and to make the forest safer and better for wildlife. And it's a huge accomplishment. I want to just express strongly how grateful and thankful and appreciative I am for all the work, everybody that's done this. And this is only the beginning, but this is a huge step, and we need to take this, and as was mentioned, it needs to be scaled and modeled in other places, because for so long the forests have been neglected, and we've seen the consequences of things like the rim fire. And whether you're a logger or a tree hugger, you do not want to see the forest burn. And we, as stewards, as the Forest Service is, as the county is, and our residents are, we want to take care of our forests. We love the forest. We're all environmentalists, and this is a wonderful thing. So once again, congratulations to everybody, and thank you.
Yeah, I just want to, I don't get, because the way that committees are divvied up and everything, I don't get that involved in this particular area, although I am the alternate supervisor on the Natural Resources Committee, and as such, I got to sit on the meeting that recommended this to the board for consideration. So I want to just add my personal appreciation, respect, thanks to really all the partners in this. Forest Service, we have as good a relationship with the Forest Service as I've seen on my tenure on the board, and any time before my tenure on the board that I'm aware of. It's great. I hope we can continue to build on that. YSS, we can't do this without you. It's an incredible partnership. It's just another example of Tuolumne County coming together in amazing ways. I said something when Rimfire was burning, and I've said it every time we've had a state of emergency since then. In every bad circumstance is a golden opportunity if you just look for it. And I think YSS is the embodiment of an opportunity that grew out of the Rimfire. And it was a recognition that we're all in this together, and that we're only going to solve the problems together. And I applaud YSS for all the work that they're doing. And personally, I'm looking forward to a great partnership between the county, YSS, and the Forest Service. We're going to do great things together. So thank you very much.
Thank you, staff, for the good detailed report. A lot of information there. Supervisor Rotifer and Royce have said most everything that needs to be said. And the importance that I see in this is the ability to come together and be able to get along and solve a problem. And I think that's what we have done. So I want to thank everybody that's been involved in that and their hard work. And let's get some cleanup out there.
We welcome to the dais our real chair, and I'll let her make a few comments.
And my rush back, my apologies first. In my tenure on this dais, this is only the second time that I have had an unavoidable conflict that has kept me away from my very, very important duties on this dais. And I consider this item to be one of the most gratifying pieces that we have put forward in my tenure here. My colleagues have hit it. The effort and the importance of getting this done for everyone in this county. It's hard to state in words the importance of what this is going to do. And Supervisor Hanfeld laid out very articulately the process and what we've been through. But I don't think that we've adequately thanked staff. A month ago, we sat in a meeting and we said, how do we make this happen this year? How do we get this done? And staff rose to the challenge, Ms. Carrillo, Mr. Pedro, Ms. Peterson. We didn't give you a lot of time. We've been talking about this for 2 years that I know of. And we said enough talking, enough. How do we do this? And those three individuals working with the partners rose to the task and they said, okay, we're going to find the language that makes this work. The agency, YSS. There's no more room for excuses in not getting this done. So thank you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. What she says is exactly right. And I give a lot of credit to our legal staff, county council, and Liz personally for the effort here to make this thing happen. It was all hands on deck and no excuses. So with that, if there's any further public comment, I'll take that now, or I'm going to bring back the board for a motion.
Jim Phelan, a minor member on the YSS, and I'd like to thank our leadership team and Liz for all the hard work they put in. These mega fires have just been getting worse and worse. I grew up here, as did Mr. Gray, and we remember a mega fire back in 1973. It burnt almost 20,000 acres. Now that's hardly a blip on the radar. We got to stop that.
Thank you. Anybody else? I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
No.
Miss Brennan, I'm sorry.
I so joyously in this season move on staff recommendation.
Second.
I assume
with
that
the included
includes the
language,
addition?
with the included
Yeah,
addition
okay.
that Supervisor Hanfeld provided.
Okay, I got a motion by Supervisor Brennan, a second by Supervisor Gray. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're going to take about a 10-minute break, at which time it will be 10:30, and we'll come back for our 10:30 appointment. And
Hopefully there's someone else in
the
charge.
reappearance of our real chairman, Ms. Brennan. Thank you.
Will the clerk please read our 10:30 appointment?
This is consideration of approving the Community Resilience Center program documents and authorizing staff to send out a request for proposal for property solicitation for this project.
All right, Ms. Frank.
Good morning. Maureen Frank, Deputy County Administrator, and with me today is our team from Lionakis, Maynard Feast, and Mike Davey. Today, before you, your board item, we would like to present to you basically two items. First item is the programming document, and that's a document that was created from our outreach that we did this summer and this fall. And Lionakis will go over the process that we went through and the information we gathered and then incorporated that into the programming document that will be presented to you. The second item is a solicitation for property. I want to go over that document with you. You had a draft in your board agenda, and since that time, we were able to get some clarification from the state of California in regards to items that they wanted in that document, so I'll go over that one. And then basically, thirdly, I'd like to go over the process and where we go from here and what steps that we're going to take. So with that, I'll turn it over to the Lionakis team to give you an overview of the programming document.
Good morning, Board. My name is Maynard Feist. I'm a principal at Lionakis, and this morning I'd like to go over just a little bit, as Maureen said, about the process that we went through to get to where we are today. And in front of you, you have your board packet. We're not going to go through the whole thing, but just a brief overview and a summary of kind of where we went. This project is unique, and it's unique in the way the process was created, where we don't have a defined need in front of us, or we don't have anything that's really defined as a operational issue. It's more of doing it from the other end and trying to identify what that need is. So again, that's really what the process was about. And so I want to go ahead, and the organization that was created was an organization that first identified the advisory group that we had established at the beginning, a stakeholders advisory group, an operational advisory group, and then probably the most important group of all, which is the community, both the communities of Groveland and Tuolumne. And what we did at the very first onset was talk with the advisory group and first identify some of the specifics on what this project could be in their eyes in terms of a facility, a resiliency center, what the long-term outcomes of that could be, and what's important to the stakeholders as a facility that they saw they would need. And at that meeting, we asked for a host of input from the group on what the project meant to them and what the critical success factors, but more importantly, what could some of these functional spaces be within a facility such as this, what's important to the community and the Tuolumne County as a whole, and then we asked them to place on Post-its what all of those items and functional areas could be. With that, we then met with the operational stakeholders, which was reinforcement to the stakeholders group, and it was subsequent on how that facility needed to operate. So if you had these specific service providers, what did they need in a facility such as this in order to operate efficiently, what they thought they would need in terms of infrastructure and those sorts of things, and spaces in particular. And we also talked about site at length. The next meeting that we had was the meeting with a group in Groveland, and that was a very well-attended meeting. And the purpose of the meeting was to identify, as a community, what they felt this facility could be. And at that meeting, what we did was we had a large poster, if you will, on the wall, and we asked them, and we gave them 2 dots. And the poster had functional areas described in terms of the building, also some functional areas in terms of the site. We gave them 2 dots for green and 2 dots for red. And the green represented what they must have, and the red dots represented what would be nice to have. And what's on the screen is a summary of those functional areas, and you can see that it was very well distributed. And some of the functional areas that rose to the top were these large meeting rooms, for instance, these multi-purpose areas, kitchen, some of those important things. But also what was important to Groveland in particular was site. There was a lot of site discussion on what they felt their community needed. We won't go through every one of these functional areas, but you have in front of you that breaks down in more detail what the functional areas were in terms of voting that was ascertained from that meeting. We then had another meeting with Tuolumne County the city of Tuolumne, And we did the same thing, and we asked the community for input. That was very well attended as well. Up on the screen, we're getting there, is kind of the same representation of what would those building spaces be in terms of your voting and the must-haves, and then what would be nice to have, and the same thing on the site. And there was a lot of similarities between Groveland and Tuolumne in terms of those functional areas that they felt were the most important to them. And that was summarized in here. Again, a nice participation and a good dialogue. And a lot of those things that were talked about at those community meetings were what was really important to them on how the building should function, how the site should function, and where things could and could not be located. So with that, what we did was we created and that was part of our task, was to create a program document based on what we heard. And we did program documents for both Groveland, we did program documents for Tuolumne, and each one of those documents accounted for those spaces as well as the number of spaces, the size of spaces. And then we made some assumptions on site, what that meant in terms of needing areas for site, for parking, for certain activities, what it meant in an event of a fire for RVs and those sorts of things. So we created those program documents. I'm going to let my partner Mike Davey tell you a little bit more about the program, because what we found was the program exceeded, the budget.
Good morning, Board. First, I apologize. I have a cold, so if I sound hard to understand, just stop me. Yeah, I'm working on that. It's not wanting to respond. Apologies, just 1 second here. That's probably me. So, as Maynard mentioned, out of the red and green dots meetings with Groveland and Tuolumne, we created programs, and our first pass programs were unfiltered, basically meaning we didn't try to take anything out to make it fit within any kind of created budget. We just put everything in to see where did that land us. And what we quickly found was that for both Groveland and Tuolumne, that we had programs that were large. And so in our third meeting, which was held here as a neutral location, we met with both the Tuolumne City community and the Groveland community to talk about those programs and have the more difficult discussions about how do we create those programs that fit within a budget. So what you have before you here is a screen that shows really 3 programs that would become a reality. Either a single facility at Groveland, which is the full program Groveland, a single facility at Tuolumne City, or 2 reduced facilities both at Groveland and Tuolumne City. The estimated costs for the full programs range between 14 and 18 million. The range is based on believed actual costs for construction of the building itself. And as you can see, it hovers right around $16 million if you take the average of the numbers. And then in the reduced programs, they both are right around 8. Obviously, Tuolumne City is a little bit smaller. There was a little more of a need for Groveland for a larger program, a little more functionality. So its rough estimated cost is a little larger than that of Tuolumne City. If I go into, and I'll just show you the, I'll show you the site, full and reduced programs. As Maynard mentioned, the programs by no intent are duplicative. They tried they did become their own, but there were so many similarities that it was hard to see what the differences were. The main difference in parking between Groveland and Tuolumne City, for example, is just the number of spots. Actually, not even that, was what was being parked in there. Both 300 parking spaces, but Groveland needed more of a need for buses and RV connectivity. But if you look at the other functionalities, open field, children's outdoor play, are all very similar in both. In the building part, that's where you can see a little bit of a difference in the red and green dot exercises. Apologies, hang on. It's just not reacting. The main components in the full programs, which I'll show you, that were important out of the community meetings were the large meeting space, the kitchen and dry storage, which is part of kitchen, small meeting space, and multi-purpose. Those all show up in these full programs, and then other pieces that were kind of sixth and seventh and eighth kind of pieces that were important to the communities. The same held true for Tuolumne City Full. If I show you the program there as well, the parking is very similar, or the site is very similar, and the difference is very minor in the building components, which I'll show here. In Tuolumne City, large meeting, kitchen and dry storage, small meeting, multi-purpose, all still showing up because those were all priorities that were seen at that community as well. When we get into the reduced versions, which are if we're going to build facilities at both locations, you're going to see some of these spaces fall off. And on site, I'll bypass that because I'll tell you that the one thing that really kind of reduced was the amount of parking. And that took our square footage down quite a bit, from 300 parking stalls to 200. On the building side, the programs are significantly reduced just because of the dollars that could be allocated to a single facility. So you see a few things get minimized. Yeah, quite a few. From what was about 17 to 18 types of spaces to maybe 10. You see the multi-purpose space, for example, on the Groveland, falls off the wayside. Instead, we have small meeting and large meeting spaces that will function as those larger spaces that would have otherwise been for multi-purpose use. And then for Tuolumne City, it's very similar. Again, parking reduced from 300 to 200. And then, again, here the multi-use classroom stayed in, but the multi-purpose again fell off the edge because that was such a large space in the full program. I believe it was 7,500 square feet, if I remember correctly. So that's the reality of going to the two smallers is you're going to get less space, but you get two programs in two locations.
I think one thing to add is when we were at that community meeting here in Sonora, at the last meeting where we had both communities participating, it was representative that all the groups made a concerted effort to be pragmatic and understand what is it that's the most important to them. Rather than discuss, whether it's here or whether it's there, the whole community came together to say, this is what we really need as a minimum, and this is what we could get by, and these spaces can really truly be multi-purpose to function as for a variety of programs that are needed throughout the community. And so hats off to those participants in the meeting.
Okay, so with that, one of the questions that your board asked of me in the last board meeting is, what's the difference between the programming documents between the two communities? And at that meeting, I expressed that really there were a lot of similarities. There was a little bit of differences. In regards to Groveland, they tended to want more small meeting areas and spaces so they can have more senior activities. Tuolumne expressed more for our younger generation. But the similarities were really interesting. As Maynard and Mike were telling you, they wanted a large meeting area that was also multi-purpose, so it could be used for a variety, so we could have 2 or 3 events at one time going on if we needed to. Small breakout rooms, if we could have at least 1 or 2 kind of classroom areas that we can do things with, that was great. Everyone expressed a huge interest in a commercial kitchen. What we would like to do, and we've talked a little bit to Columbia College, is see if we can do some cooking classes that are not at the college, but brought out to the community and work on some of those things. The other space needs kind of thing that people really expressed an interest for was outdoor area, especially in times of evacuations for animals. And the lease place have something in which we can at least do some staging until we can get them down to maybe a more permanent place, but have a safe area in which we can do some of that before we can open up or have some volunteers open up pastures and things like that. The other thing that was very important for both of the communities that we heard from was technology. Making sure that it was whatever we build had as much robust technology, whether it was AV type of equipment or whether it was internet access. So they can come in, and if we had a computer lab area where they can come and fill out a resume or do services or get on the internet and do things and communicate and stuff, that was wonderful. Or to make a full-blown presentation. So with any of the governmental agencies coming out during an emergency or not, and we wanted to make a public presentation, there was that technology there in the building. The other thing that we heard from the community loud and clear was they wish to be able to access governmental services from these buildings. Whether it was having the sheriff's community service unit there and have a presence in the building, whether it was the Economic Development Authority coming in to provide classes or to provide have office hours there, or whether it was maybe in the future, if we go this way, we could have some kiosks there in the building. So, for example, getting a building permit, and you're living in the Groveland area, not coming down the hill, coming to our CRA department, but you could do that online. Or if you're looking up assessment information, you can do that and not having to come down here. My answer consistently through this whole process from the state has been no, no, and no. Me not letting go of that and continuing to push them. Finally, yesterday, when we had a meeting with HUD, who is the granting authority for this money, they have said yes. So that's a huge change from when we went out to the community meetings. Unfortunately, my answer was no, because that's what I was told was no. So to all the public that's listening, know that that's a huge change that we've asked staff. We just asked HUD for, and the examples I gave them, the same ones I just gave you, were acceptable to them, and that was no problem whatsoever. So that's a little bit new component that was requested of us that wasn't reflected in the programming document, just so you know, because at that time we weren't allowed to do it. So that's kind of where we are with that. At this time, I think we're done with before we move on to the other aspects, I guess I'd like to see if there's any questions regarding the programming document or anything that you'd like to ask of us.
So, Supervisor Gray, do you have a
Not questions so much, maybe mostly comments that, we've been through this for, almost 4 years now that we've been working on it, and we're finally got something in front of us. And we're looking at the programming, and we originally talked about, the $17 million single center possibly in Groveland. I've attended both meetings, Tuolumne and Groveland, and I think there's a consensus of both communities that the $17 million big center isn't something that everybody, they would love to have it, but it's not realistic. And I think we do a better service to both communities by looking at the program based on two facilities. It just makes more sense. Anything that happens in Groveland is going to be an improvement. It's a vast improvement over what we have right now. And I know that the community is behind the project. It's something that's it's been a long time coming, and I just hope that we can come to a conclusion that we will be able to build two facilities where two communities could greatly benefit from it.
Couldn't agree more, John. There's no way in hell I will ever let this only be one facility. I will die fighting to make 2 facilities happen, period. John and I already made a deal on this, so everybody else can just forget about it.
We locked
So you got 2 votes on Tuesday, right?
I will make a strong bet that we can peel off 1. We can horse trade or whatever we need to do, but no doubt about it, this is a fantastic opportunity for the communities. These facilities need to be in the cores of these communities. They need to be in a vicinity where people can access them easily. And there's lots of potential sites that could satisfy those needs. So I think just hearing that from John and I probably eases a lot of people's concerns, but there's enough money to do it. I have no doubt in my mind there is plenty of money to make this happen. I build things. I've got 2 projects I'm working on right now. One's over 10,000 square foot with a commercial kitchen. We demolished an existing building. We're bringing in new infrastructure, built a pad, site work, and it's $4 million. Hard costs. I know you got another chunk that's going to cover soft costs, but that's pretty good value. That is not a public project. I just got awarded a public project, which is subject to prevailing wage. It's a DSA project, 12,000 square feet with 3,000 of conditioned space, 3,000 square feet of covered space with huge site improvements, paving, fencing, all those things. And that was $3.7 million. Didn't have the commercial kitchen, but it had a whole bunch of bathrooms, plumbing, HVAC, all those same types of things. Smart boards, casework, filled with the same similar costs. So I have no doubt in my mind for hard costs, $5 million a piece, we can do something pretty sweet. So I think we can cover this.
But we want to spend it all.
Oh, no doubt. We want to get the best bang for our buck, and we want to get the best value.
When does staff ever give back money if we can help it?
Yeah. And it's going to be for a good cause. We're not going to waste a single penny. But before I move on, I'll let everybody else get me off the mic. But Mo, I just want to thank you personally for everything you're doing behind the scenes, because I think a lot of people up here know what you do. But everybody else in the community needs to know how hard you're working on this and how personal you take it and how dedicated you are. And I just want to recognize that. And also these guys on the team, thank you for taking the time to work with us on this and for go and do the outreach. We got a lot of good input. And I think, like you said, the communities were pragmatic. I think, they threw out a lot of ideas. There was a lot of good, valuable suggestions and input. And I think that gives us a good basis to build upon. So with that, I'll let everybody else agree with me on two.
Oh, okay.
Supervisor Rutherford.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to give him his 3rd vote. Actually, it's nice to see the parents not fight over the children. Mo, what can I say? You're just awesome. I mean, on top of this, you're trying to build us a new jail and 10,000 other things, and just incredible work. The real tragedy in this, and I don't want to dwell on it very long, is that we're going to be paying a lot of state and federal salaries for way too many years to make this happen. If they just give us the money, we could probably build 2 very robust facilities, but that's not the way that the federal or the state government works, unfortunately. So, you got a few more frustrations to go until we get there, but I know you're up to the challenge. And I want to thank all the partners, and I do agree, 2 is the way to go. So you got your 3rd vote.
That's 3. Supervisor Hanfeld.
Well, I like the euphoria of this. I'm not sure I like my colleagues conspiring like this, but it didn't surprise me. The rules.
We didn't talk to anybody
anyway.
else, did we?
Pardon?
We didn't talk to anybody else.
Well, you didn't talk to me. I can't talk about anybody else.
Hey, Randy.
But anyway, but look, in reality, there's one thing, this is the next step, but there's one thing that we all got to think about. And that is, if you have these buildings, how are you going to operate them? And how are you going to staff that operation? How are you going to maintain them? Our budgets are tight.
Right.
There isn't any money in this grant for ongoing operation of these facilities. So it's a challenge. I mean, we need the whole picture before we, get too euphoric about this. But proceeding at this point and is the right thing to do. I mean, I'm very excited that we got something like this. I'm not exactly sure how it's ultimately gonna settle out and become a functional part of our communities, but I'm excited that there's an opportunity there.
Right.
And I also want to say thanks to you, Mo, for the work you've done. And I know you've done a lot of work, and HUD doesn't know how to deal with rural counties and rural issues, and they're learning new ways, and we're hardly urban, and this isn't housing, and that's their calling. So remarkable job, and I thank the governor's office, too, for their support in this. It's been important. And Supervisor Royce, Supervisor Gray, you owe the other three of us.
So just so your board is aware, staff at this point in time is not asking for a recommendation on one or two. We still have a long way to go. So as far as Supervisor Hanville, your questions are spot on. We really need to do continued due diligence, and that leads to the other item in here. Staff doesn't have enough information to be able to give the board enough detail in order to make some good decisions. So if we're allowed to proceed and go forward with this project, besides working on the property, which we'll talk about in a minute, staff will continue working with partners in the community and talk about what kinds of partnerships can we create and what kind of activities. So when we come before your board to make that final decision on one or two, as the case may be, then we have an operational plan also to present at that time for you. So we'll not just be coming with that decision, but we'll be coming with a full programming model, so you can see what it's going to look like and how it's going to operate and what some of the potential operating costs will be.
Mr. Pedro.
No, I was just going to echo in on what Mo was just talking about. When first, thanking Mo too. She's worked very, very hard on this and other things, but that was part of the discussion with HUD yesterday and HCD yesterday, 1 versus 2. If we actually do go to 2, and they understand, that's probably the local desire to have the 2, and they wouldn't preclude it, but it will, when we get to that point, if, we get there, that will cause a formal amendment to our agreement, which is fine. But that's something we definitely want to, follow through on, so we can demonstrate to the state that 1 versus 2, there's reasons for what your board chooses to direct, and it gets to also what Mo had to say, Randy brought up, is we do have to come up with operational models that work, and we had a lengthy discussion about that with them yesterday, and we're making the point too, along with what Carl had said, is if just give us the goals, tell us the sidebars, and let us do our thing, because we know our community the best, and we've done this kind of thing a fair amount, and we could get to the end quicker and satisfy the federal, state goals and meet the needs and desires of our community best. And that was kind of the message, and I think they understand that. And we've seen some flexibility in recent days where they're hearing that message is let us minimize the rules only to things you absolutely have to have, and then let us do our thing locally.
So appreciate that, Supervisor Gray.
Yeah, just the reason I brought the 1 versus 2 up is because what's on the screen there, and I totally understand that we have issues that we're going to have to resolve, but those issues are going to be on our plate in 2022, 2021, 2022. Hopefully by that length of time we would have things pretty well figured out. But the other reason I wanted to bring it up is because I think that if the staff and the consultants that are working on this and the community have a basic understanding where the board thinks they need to go, is going to save some time. You're not going to be doing 2 things.
So, real briefly, I think we're all aware of the challenges going ahead, and especially with how do we make these stand up and go forward for the long term. And so a couple pieces. When you're looking at the construction of this, kind of, like we did with our jail philosophy, we're getting a core building with the idea that if we have to expand, we're building in some opportunities for those expansions to take place. Can you look at this in kind of the same way, so that if either of these communities found partners that were able to expand and build out, that there would be that opportunity?
Absolutely. That's one of the tasks that I've asked Lionakis to look at as we move forward with this project, is the ability. You never want to miss opportunities. You always want to be able to expand. And I don't know over the next year or two if there's other monies that might become available to be able to add on to what we have for the community resiliency centers. So we want to always, staff wants to keep our options open, whether it's right now or whether it's in the future. And so that's going to play into the solicitation for property. We wanted to make sure that we didn't just ask for we're asking for the bare minimum, but we didn't want to put a cap on as far as more than X amount, because we want to see what's out there. We want to maybe account for things in the future.
And I just think conceptually that will become a priority if we look at two smaller centers.
Most definitely. I think, we haven't put any paper to pencil or pencil to paper now yet. So when we do start that early design concept, I think there has to be that commitment that we have a facilities that can be somewhat of a plug and play, so that if there is additional funding, we can accommodate growth in a very pragmatic way, that we don't have to go backwards and start over. So we're always going to have that in the back of our mind. But also, as Mo was saying, especially on the site, because the site might constrain us so much that we don't want to have a site that lends itself to things that will shoehorn us in that we can't expand later. So I think within that selection, that criteria is going to be very critical.
And so the last comment that I really need to make is to echo the sentiments of my colleagues. And Mo, it's to you. Like all of our staff, your plates just runneth over. You have such an abundance of fun work to do.
Fun.
And I mean, you don't just keep it all moving forward. You keep it moving forward in such a productive manner that just, again, this is why Tuolumne County is we're special. And thank you again for all those efforts and the entire team. It's just, I have confidence in the path forward. And so with that, I think you have another piece. Or would you like me to go to public comment on this piece?
It's up to your board's pleasure.
So I'll ask at this time if there's any public comment on what has been presented thus far. All right, seeing none. Oh, Mr. Ferriani.
I've attended all the meetings and stuff, and I agree. The one thing I do think in Tuolumne, I don't know enough about Groveland, but in Tuolumne that it does have to be downtown, has to be related to the downtown. What killed Tuolumne originally was when they moved the shopping center and all the businesses to where the shopping center exists now. And the plans for the west side property have a new shopping center back in town behind the swimming pool, and I think that's just a really critical thing to make this thing really pay off for Tuolumne. Secondly, the operations. I know Park and Rec now manages a lot of your facilities in Tuolumne. Our districts, we have 5 districts in town now that are really have good staff with them, and I think that if this does come through, we need to look at kind of some ways of combining those so that we can really help facilitate for Tuolumne, because we are kind of unique. We have already a lot of facilities there in public gardens and ballparks, and if we can tie them all together and get the community all together involved with that, I think it'd really be it's going to be a home run for Tuolumne. So, any questions?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm Lucy Tyndall, and I'm the program coordinator for Southside Community Connections, which you probably know more as the Little House, which we run the Little House facility thanks to the county, and Wheels and Village on the Hill, and I was also the Groveland stakeholder representative. And I want to echo much of what was said here. Mo, thank you. It wouldn't be where we are without this. And also some of the comments that you made here. I had been jotting down notes, and you each kind of ticked off some of those things already for me, which has to do with we would love the full-scale community center that was put up there, but we are realistic enough to know that that's not in the works for us right now. But at the same time, we do want to make sure to echo what you said, Supervisor Brennan, that a site that would allow us to do expansion to add some of these other things would be wonderful. Southside had actually had a lease with GCSD for some property where we were trying to figure out how we could build something a number of years ago and came up with a campus setting for what we felt was needed for the community. And so if we can still stay with something that would allow us to add some of the amenities that we don't currently have in Groveland, that, our needs are a little different. Tuolumne City has the pool area. We have a pool, but it's Pine Mountain Lake only. We don't have something that services our entire community, and many of our children are outside of that area. And we would like to be able to provide those services over time. So having that kind of a campus environment that would allow us to look at other ways of funding, whatever it may be, would be really important to us. The other thing is the private spaces, which was mentioned, I think, by Mo. Because originally when we were looking at scaling down the Groveland component, there were no offices. And we said we need offices because we have, right now at the Little House, we have the 3 buildings. We often have programs going on in all 3 buildings and somebody in an office who is doing some private type counseling. And it would be our hope to be able to do these things in this new community center because we're outgrowing the Little House tremendously. We have to sometimes rent our community hall, which is a rather uninviting building to do some of our programs because we can't fit them in the Little House anymore. So private spaces and ensuring that we can have areas where we can have confidential conversations. Area 12 comes up and does high cap counseling there. We have Center for Nonviolent Community come up regularly. We have a number of organizations that we would like to be able to continue to have those services provided in Groveland instead of having people who have mobility issues come down here. So that's really important to us as well. So you'll see, I think, between the 2 buildings, the office spaces in Groveland, and that's a direct result of our request to be able to continue to provide those type of services locally. And thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you.
I don't have a dog in this fight, but as a member of the public, I went to the session that was here when everybody else was at the Opera Hall talking about cannabis. So I was really impressed, and I'm very impressed with your consultants because I thought people were asking for the Taj Mahal, and then they actually narrowed it down to what people, I guess you said, were pragmatic, could live with. And that was pretty impressive. And there were a lot of suggestions from the community, I think, of ways these buildings could be used where you could rent them out, and these buildings need, you could have weddings or receptions or funerals or, graduations or retirement parties and then make it pay for itself.
Thank you. All right. Mo.
So the next phase of your board packets revolved around what was submitted to you was a draft solicitation for a property. And staff apologizes that it was only a draft at that time. I had been waiting a little bit of time for the state's comments. So they finally weighed in, and before you on your dais was delivered to you a final copy of what staff would like to send out as far as the next process, which is solicitation for property. The biggest changes from what was included in your board package and what you received on your dais this morning was the state had asked us not to call this a request for proposal. So instead, before you is a solicitation for property. If we had used an RFP, quote, kind of process, it would have kicked in a lot of federal rules and regulations, and so they had recommended not to do it. The other changes that you see before you in this request for solicitation is they wanted us to go through and really, as far as some of the criteria we use to judge these properties or to rank and rate them, they wanted more definitive types of language in there as far as how we would determine the property. So, for example, the property has easy access to the property. There's easy access to the property. And that's all we had originally in what was given to you before in the draft solicitation. And all we did was added that the way we would judge that criteria would be that the property is near or adjacent to a public road. So in the solicitation, it will look somewhat familiar to you in regards to some of the categories, or the way it's laid out is some of the categories or some of the things we have for RFPs. So it starts off with a project summary. It talks about property specifications. So that's where your programming document comes into play. So the slide that Michael has up on the screen right now, so if you saw on the second page of the solicitation, we have two options there for people to submit proposals on. So option one is, at a minimum, the property should contain at least 2.2 buildable acres, and option two is, a minimum, the property should contain 4.3 buildable acres. And so that matches what you see on the screen there. Then the next part of this solicitation is the proposal requirements, and those are the sections in which we're asking anyone who's interested in submitting one or multiple proposals to us that they fill out this information and submit this information to us. On the next page, you see the process in which the selection process, and so on this page under criteria this is how each of the proposals that we receive will be judged and reviewed. And I'm asking the illustrious advisory team and the architects who will be assisting on the property proposals and reviewing and ranking them, and we will use this point system in doing so. And below you have the schedule as far as the property. So with that, if your board is okay with staff releasing this request for solicitation, we'll be doing that this week, with the proposals then due back to us at the end of January. Then we'll be going through an evaluation process. And in the solicitation, it's just abbreviated, but in Appendix C of your board memo, I outlined more specific as far as what will be done under each of those categories. So for example, we'll get the proposals back in January, and then what will transpire is the advisory committee and the architects and myself will go through and we'll do some original screening of the applications, look at environmental things associated with it. We'll start doing some property due diligence. We'll look at the operational viability of each of the sites and be working with the state of California as far as seeing how they see what we're going through as the property solicitations. And then at that time, probably May of the following year, we'll come back to your board and we'll narrow down the property selection and seek your approval for which properties then you want us to do some additional homework on and additional, I would say, property due diligence on. So at that time, once we have from both the state and the Board of Supervisors some clarification on those properties, we will then go back and do additional due diligence on the top sites and really dig in. And at that time, we'll be doing the preliminary title reports. We'll be doing additional studies on the environmental. We'll do some work with Lionakis in regards to looking at the site, where it is, and what kind of costs might be associated with developing that site. We'll be, again, like I said, all the way through the process, we'll be talking to various stakeholders in the community and service providers and get their feel for the property, because a lot of their concern about signing up right now or engaging with us as far as, oh, absolutely, we'll be able to provide XY service, is we can't tell them where the site is going to be. So that's been the issue. The next real big decision time will be October of this next coming year. Excuse me. As you remember, in our contract with Housing and Community Development, we have an opportunity of a go, no go. So if this project doesn't pencil out, or we can't find property to make it work, or we can't find partners that want to go in with the project with us, at that time, if we need to, we have an opportunity, if we wanted to tell the state, look, it's not going to work for us. You need to think about reallocating the money. But if the answer is yes, then we will be getting direction from the board in regards to finalizing which property or properties they would like county to pursue with an agreement, and we will go forward with an environmental impact report, a full-blown one. It's required because we have federal funds for NEPA. And that'll happen between October and June 2018 to 2019. Then we will look at probably June 2019, finalizing the properties that we've want to purchase, and so we'll do that. And then in June 2019, we will have plans and specs done, and bids out, and we will start the construction. Right now, I'm estimating about, just giving us flexibility, I penciled in here about 14 months for construction. These are not as significant buildings as what we're doing out in the Law and Justice Center, but just we don't know what time of year we're going to be starting this project, or where it's going to be, and you never know if it's going to be an extremely rainy season or low snow. So we have 14 months for that. We estimate construction, everything being completed December of 2021, and beginning operations March 2022, which then for staff, our commitment to the state and to HUD is everything has to be done, completed, and operational September of 2022. So it gives us a little bit of months in there. So that's the schedule going forward. I'm here to answer any questions, or if you have any differences that or changes that you want to make for the solicitation, I'd be happy to entertain them. The only thing I ask is things keep shifting and morphing at the state. Yesterday, I was just handed this lovely thin document. I would like the opportunity, if your board wants to proceed with this, just one more chance to flip through some of the sections and make sure I've gotten everything in here that I'm supposed to. It's been blessed by the state, but I just one more opportunity to go through there and make any minor modifications if you guys are okay with this.
So I'm sure the answer to that's going to be yes. We want you to do that. I can look both to my right and left and saw hands going up, so I'm going to go to Supervisor Royce first.
Thank you, Supervisor Brennan. So I don't particularly like the weighting of the criteria, partially just because it's kind of tough to swallow the whole thing here. Basically, what I want to do is I want to make sure the 3 rules of real estate are obviously the biggest priority here.
Okay.
And those rules are location, location, location. Okay? Like we were talking about, we want it right in the cores of the communities. What I would like to do, so if you get specific, the way I think I'd like to propose this is the environmental impact concern. I want to completely eliminate that by consolidating it with the third from the bottom bullet. It says hard costs of developing the site, and then in parentheses it says grading, infrastructure improvements, et cetera. I'd just like to, in that parentheses, add environmental impact concerns and entitlements. I think that's just part of the cost of developing the site. And don't just consider the hard costs, consider the overall costs. That gives you 5 categories. All the weird weighting doesn't make sense to me. Just make each one 20%. It's easier to understand, makes more sense to me. And with that, like I said, my emphasis here is the location. That's more important than any of these. Some of these other factors, to me, are not necessarily as much of a weighting factor. They're more of just like qualifiers.
Okay.
Infrastructure is a qualifier. I don't think it's going to make our mind on it. Just if you don't have infrastructure, you're not going to do it. So that's, to me, more of a pass-fail, actually. But and then last comment, the one thing I do want to be reasonable about is the buildable size limits that we have.
Okay.
I'm concerned by imposing a pure pass-fail requirement on that with Tuolumne. Tuolumne in the core, you're not going to find 2-point-whatever acres just sitting there ready to go. So you're going to have to take some potentially, multiple parcels and combine them, so you might need some teams. I think we can do that, and I think some negotiations, I can help you with that, and there's probably different parties that may become involved, but there needs to be some flexibility there to be able to not just outright disqualify a perfect site that just needs a little more room.
Right. One quick clarification, so my attorneys don't get upset at me. Just know that once we release this solicitation, besides answering questions from potential proposals,
Mhm.
I cannot go out and negotiate for anything.
Is there a way to include a step in the process for like a pre-solicitation so we kind of know who's looking? So if they're missing something, we can help make sure that they have an opportunity to adjust, or we can help grease the wheels along to get the best outcome.
Sorry.
We can look into that, but the issue comes down to fairness, and so how you have to apply that to everybody. And that's
I don't
really
care
what
about
we
fairness. I care about the best site for the community.
I understand that, but from the perspective of people that do care, we have to make sure we're applying everything evenly.
All right. That's why you're...
And Evan,
That's why
Evan, yesterday we talked about this kind of thing and making sure that it is a level playing field, all that kind of stuff, arm's length. You know, we're coached on that, and that's what we always try to do, but we understand what you're saying. I know bundling of parcels, there's nothing wrong with that. If people want to propose 2 parcels next to each other that will meet the minimums or whatever, maybe that's something we can make clear, in here.
Okay.
But we do need to be careful, but understand what you're saying.
I get it. Thank you.
Supervisor Gray.
Yeah, I have no problems with criteria changes. I think that what I'm worried about is when we do the solicitation, that it gets out to the people, and I know you have a proper way that you have to do it, but I would suggest that we also send a solicitation to the Tuolumne County Board of Realtors so that it can really get out there to the people that do know the property.
If there are no further board questions, I'll ask if there's any public comment.
I think we should reach out and find some people or entities that might want to donate land for this, so we don't have to pay for it.
Thank you. All right. Any other public comment? I'm going to bring this back then.
Supervisor Brennan, with great pleasure, I would like to make a motion that the board approve the programming document with the modified criteria that was discussed, and send out the property solicitation for this project.
Second.
I have a motion from Supervisor Royce, a second from Supervisor Gray. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we have time. Okay. So I want to go ahead and, let's see, will the clerk please read? I think we can do number 28.
Consideration of approving amendment number 1 to the professional services agreement with Vanner Construction Management, Inc. Oh, wait, there's more. Sorry. And increase appropriations for the juvenile detention facility project budget by $57,924, supported by a like increase in anticipated loan proceeds.
Okay,
Mr. Pedro.
Madam Chair, members of the board, just to note that this item and the one that follows, once acted upon, will bring closure to our juvenile detention project. This item relates to our contract with Vanner Construction Management. We contracted with them back in 2014 for a set price. However, we experienced extraordinary factors that were beyond Vanner's control, such as excessive subterraneous rock, substantive state-directed project changes, replacement of the HVAC system serving the equipment room, and replacement of the original security system that extended the project far beyond any reasonably anticipated construction period and with that came additional costs that we would agree that it represents compensable additional services which are provided for in the agreement. So what staff has prepared for your consideration is amendment number 1, and it'll be the only one with Vanner's agreement for additional cost of $107,924. This is $57,924 above that was contemplated in your adopted budget. That's why there's a recommended budget action that comes with this, which is increasing anticipated loan proceeds by $57,924 with an offsetting increase for the juvenile detention project. And that is staff's recommendation.
Are there any board questions? Is there any public comment? All right, I'm going to bring this back.
Move on staff recommendation.
Second.
I have a motion from Supervisor Rotifer, a second from Supervisor Gray. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Will the clerk please read item 29?
Consideration of approving change order number 8, increasing appropriations for the Justice Detention Facility project budgeted by $29,237, supported by the like increase in appropriated loan proceeds, and authorize the county administrator to sign the notice of completion for the Mother Lode Regional Juvenile Detention Facility.
Ms. Frank.
Good morning. Before you today for your consideration is finalizing our final payment with F&H Construction for the Mother Lode Regional Juvenile Center, and also filing the notice of completion. As your board is aware, back in April 2015, your board authorized a contract with F&H Construction in the amount of $15.3 million for the construction of this facility. Construction commenced on June 2015 and was substantially completed March 13th, 2017. The county, as staff has been before you, the county has already been approved change orders 1 through 7. The board is being asked today to look at change order number 8, which will close out the project. Before you today, by the way of reminder, the total cost of the $16 million project and the final contract with F&H is being funded by the state SB 81 grant of $16 million, and we only contributed $507,965 in general county funds. In change order 8, those items are on the second page of your board memo. They include the following items. There's a janitor's closet wall modification that was requested by the county. There was additional boulder busting work that was done on site. The bill just wasn't submitted by the contractor. There was also additional ADA sidewalk correction work that was needed. Again, that same contractor didn't turn in their paperwork on a timely manner. Then there was a global settlement for change orders 1 through 7 in regards to the compensable days and the rate associated with that we needed to pay. And then on this change order is also a credit for the mechanical revisions that were done under change order number 7 for that data security room. It came in, as you remember, there were 2 items, both the electrical and for the contractor, that were done on time and materials, and those were both done under their estimate, so we get a credit of $16,358. With this, if change order number 8 is approved, the additional compensation that needs to be added to the county budget is $29,237. Staff recommends covering this variance by increasing anticipated loan proceeds by this amount, and having an offsetting increase in the appropriations for the juvenile facility project line item in the capital budget. And as I said earlier, with the now project completed and all of the financial matters resolved, we would like to have your board authorize the submission of the notice of completion for this project.
Thank you. Are there any board questions? Is there any public comment? All right, I'm going to bring this back.
Sure. Madam Chair, first of all, I just want to say that this item is something that through our process of vetting in closed sessions was particularly bitter to me in the way that the contractor approached some of these changes. But with that being said, I was a major pain in the rear for our staff because I pushed them very, very hard. Sarah, I made sure, and I want to tell the public, I made sure that these change orders were not just being handed out. And our construction management team also put in a lot of time. We asked a lot of very, very difficult questions on multiple occasions, made them come back to us, and in the end, it's still a bitter pill to swallow, but it is what it is, and our staff did a good job, and we pushed it. And I have to say that it was substantially less than what was being requested at one point. So with that, as a contractor on the board, I will make the motion to approve changes and all the other associated actions per staff recommendation.
Yeah, and Madam Chair, this is one of those that, it's one of those facts of life. You don't like it. Sometimes you just want to scrum it, but we have to live with it. So I'll second the motion.
I have a motion from Supervisor Royce, a second from Supervisor Rotifer as he scrummed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I just wanted to comment with no point coming
I'm
down.
very sorry, Supervisor Hanfield. I did not look to my.
It's over 12. You're done anyway.
The motion carries
You gotta do what you
5-0.
gotta do.
No, the motion carried 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that, will the clerk please read our 12 o'clock appointment and the closed session item?
So the 12 o'clock is closed session, public employee performance evaluation, Authority Government Code Section 54957B1. Title is Community Resources Agency Director, and the closed session is number 34, and that is public employee appointment, Authority Government Code Section 54957B1, and the title is County Health Officer.
Yes, there is. Please hire a county public health officer that will do a great job for us like Dr. Stolp did. And I'm very fond of Mr. Gonzalez and all the changes that he has brought to the CRA, especially with the planning department. And I have been a pain in his behind a couple of times, and we still get along very well. Thank you.
All right, we are back from closed session and we have nothing to report. Will the clerk please read our item 30?
Consideration of approving the Board of Supervisors 2018 Committee, Commission, Organization, Partnership Handbook.
So, Madam Chair, this is round 2, hopefully last round, to getting your handbook prepared for this coming year. On December 5th, brought to you some changes that the chair, the vice chair, had recommended be made. You guys gave clear direction on each of those recommendations. Those recommendations have been incorporated in the handbook that's before you today. The only other changes that are in here would be some specific wording changes that we received from the Visitors Bureau, just slight changes in how they're doing business, and wanted that reflected in the write-up in there. And anything else that's in here, really just minor typographical, grammatical things. We found some authority references that need to be tuned up, like what resolution does this found in, and so forth. So otherwise, the handbook is ready to go. However, your board also asked, and it's on page 2 of your memo, you wanted some additional information on a couple items. And the first item was, what's the planned frequency versus the actual number of committee meetings? Specifically, we talked about the policy advisory committees, but we also provided some information on your operations advisory committees. And the data that's provided, it shows the committee. Let's start with the policy committees, and I'm not going to go through each one. They're there. But each of your policy committees, it shows the planned frequency of those meetings, and then it shows the total committee meetings that were held combined 2016 and 17. So if we're talking about a monthly, meeting is the planned thing. For example, solid waste met 4 times over a two-year period, or finance 11 times over a 2-year period. And it's not just a divide by 2 and you get your that's what you had in each year. That's just the total. So that's just information. You're wondering about that. That issue of should you have the monthlies and advertise it, or do it as needed, and then cancel if you did monthlies, if you're not going to meet. The information's there. I thought it was worthy to note that planning has always been a very active committee. However, you do have your general plan ad hoc committee that's met regularly, and that does detract from the numbers that I think otherwise you would have seen under planning. On your operations advisory committees, again, you can see what the planned meeting frequency was. And again, you can see your most active are the Behavioral Health Advisory, Housing Loan Committee, Commission on Aging, and Water Policy. And I just thought, just for information, you have in your handbook, you have a rule number 2 for your policy advisory committees. It doesn't pertain to your operations, but it says meetings shall be scheduled by the chair on an as-needed basis versus on a set schedule. This will foster issue-driven versus calendar-driven issues. But the practice has been for a lot of these, just go ahead and put a planned time and date. And part of that, just for history, was it got it on people's calendars, and it also got it on calendars for boardrooms and things like that. And then it wasn't a mad scramble for everyone to find a date and find a location that was free. So you have that information. Then the second question that you had, just to follow up on, what's the background as to why the Board of Supervisors member on the Emergency Medical Care Committee does not count for the purpose of establishing a quorum, and that goes back to the bylaws. It has nothing to do with state law or anything like that, so if you wanted to change that, you absolutely could. We got some history. So what it means now, you have 13 members that count for purpose of establishing quorum, so you need 7 right now to establish a quorum. If you added the board member, then you would need 8 to establish a quorum, and then you can see the meetings they've had over the last couple years, and just mention that it was only one time that it would have mattered if the board rep counted for establishing the majority. In that case, it actually would have resulted in no quorum. So that's just information, not any recommendation, but given that information, you may or may not want to change your rule for the policy advisory committees or your practice on the others. So that's just there in response to the questions you had. So you could adopt this as is. You can amend it with this additional information, whatever your board's pleasure is.
Supervisor Gray.
Yeah, I think that to put them on a calendar makes more sense. It's just too difficult to plan out without that. And the idea of finding a meeting room at 72 hours before you have your meeting doesn't make sense either. I know how difficult it is. So emergency medical, leave it like it is. I think if we've only missed one quorum in that many years, it surely doesn't make any sense in changing it. So I'm fine with what you've done.
Supervisor Rotifer.
Yeah, I want to agree with Supervisor Gray. I think having the periodic meetings scheduled, it makes sure that we're available if we're needed. And besides, doing away with that would mean cancellation of my favorite meetings, which are canceled meetings, so.
Yeah, I would agree.
I agree. My availability and the way I fill my calendar, if I don't have that on my calendar, then I won't be there because I'll fill it with something else. So I think it's better put it on there and then cancel it. And nothing I like better than a free hour once in a while.
So one of the other takeaways that I had from our previous conversation was for us to go back and make sure that our individual committees and commissions and things are operating efficiently. And it was interesting because when I did my director's report for the Area 12 JPA meeting that we had and gave a little background information about how this kind of came out of the grand jury comments. And that JPA is 4 counties. The other 3 counties chimed in a very loud way, and they appreciated. So it will be agendized for us to look at that at the February meeting if there is a structure that would make more sense and actually in that circumstance allow more participation. And it might be as simple as doing more of a teleconference so that there's not the travel time associated with those, long distance meetings. But I guess the takeaway for me was that I think we need to look at the efficiencies within these individual committees also. I agree that if it's on the calendar, but if we don't need it, so for instance, in that conversation it said maybe we can go to an every other month meeting instead of a monthly meeting.
Yeah.
Those are going to be, I think, good conversations to have, and especially since we do have so many JPAs where we're either traveling to other counties or they're traveling to us.
And to the extent that if it's a monthly meeting, that we could schedule them quarterly and still get the timeliness associated, I think we would want to look at that. But I want something on my calendar.
And I agree with that completely.
Otherwise, I won't be there.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So, any other board comment? Is there any public comment?
Of course there is.
Okay, so I can understand why you want the meetings on the calendar, but as a member of the public, it's really irritating when you don't necessarily know that it got canceled. Or I'm trying to recruit people to come because they're interested in learning about something, and then the meetings are canceled for a couple of months. So, but, that's just me. So I think there needs to be more in this handbook. I would like to see, as a member of the public, for people who are interested in some of these committees, to have it spelled out what the requirements are, what you're looking for, what you should have as like a prerequisite to applying for some of these committees. So I talked to Carla, and I came by a couple times last week to figure out if there's any sort of little handbook that includes that. So she said some things are in ordinances, some things are in statutes. So that was a little confusing for someone who's coming in kind of new. And then I really want something in there about if you're appointed to a committee and you don't show up, then, I think I know some of them, if you miss 3 meetings in a row, then that's considered a de facto resignation. And I think we need to do some kind of public outreach to kind of generate some enthusiasm for these commissions and committees. And then, there's a whole bunch of people that serve on a whole bunch of committees. I don't know if that's really very helpful. And then we have a lot of vacancies, and we need to be looking at that. And then I think most of you know how I feel about a particular committee or commission, so I probably don't need to go into that. But that needs to be seriously looked at.
Any other public comment? Okay. Supervisor Rotifer.
Yeah, one thing that I think that we could do that's a pretty easy fix, and I could be wrong, it could be hard, but I don't think so. And that is, there's a way to subscribe to various committees' notifications. So when it does get canceled, they automatically get an email. If we could somehow highlight that function so that it was a little bit easier maybe to see that if you're interested in solid waste, First of all, you can have my seat on the committee, but second of all, you could subscribe to the notifications and everything, and it would automatically come. Not everybody's on email, but at least that fixes part of the problem.
I'd be surprised if Carol wasn't aware of that, but there's maybe not. There's what Carl's talking about on the website. There's a place you can subscribe, and it'll push out all those agendas, all those notifications, and maybe we could find a way to highlight that better.
And I've made a choice not to do that because I want to find out how things are happening as if I was a regular person out in the world. So that's a choice I've made.
And now you know.
And I do know that. But I know that there are some people that are asking me, well, I'm kind of interested in this. Where do I need to go? Where do I learn about that? And so that makes it a little harder. But I am aware of that, but I find it interesting when, if I don't get those notices and I have to go looking, then I find that enlightening.
So I'm going to bring this back to the board.
Sherry, can I ask on the if we want to go ahead and just endorse, which is totally fine, let's have monthlies at least on your policy committees, or should I go ahead and change Rule 2 as part of this, just to say that we just set all the policy committees at monthly? Because the only one that isn't right now is finance, and we could at least get one every month on there. So instead of saying by the chair as needed, just change it to where all the policy committees at least once monthly.
That's fine.
Then that's a change. So the recommendation then would be to go ahead and adopt as it is with that change to policy 2.
So moved.
A motion from Supervisor Rutherford, a second from Supervisor Gray. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And Madam Chair, members of the board, the mighty Christina is in the background there, and it takes a lot of work to put this handbook together, and I just want to again publicly acknowledge her. It's a lot of work to do this.
Amen, it is.
Thank you, Christina.
Thank you, Christina.
The mighty Christina.
Supervisor Hanfeld?
Yeah, Madam Chair, so this brings up the next part of the equation, at least for me, is rationalizing the workload. And this is the time of year we all put in our desires, if you will, for committee appointments for next year. 2017 has been my busiest year as a supervisor. Part of it, most of it's my fault, I suppose, because with your endorsement and support and approval, I've taken on some additional assignments, one of which is the chairman. Well, I'm second vice chair right now. On January 1st, I become the first vice chair of RCRC. I'm also on the board of directors of NACO's WIR and on their policy, land policy committee, public lands policy committee. And I'm being asked to testify in front of the state assembly a lot more often. And that takes me away. Plus, I expect this master stewardship agreement, which is near and dear to my heart, will take a lot of time away. And so while the normal cycle of events would put me as chair next year, I think it would be a disservice to the community if the county, to you and the staff, and to our constituents, if I took that assignment. I think it's more important that I stay in the chairs at RCRC and on the WIR board and do those jobs well as opposed to do all these jobs not as well. I've been putting in 70-plus hours a week doing this job this year, and it's also not fair to Gloria. So with that, it's my intent to abdicate my normal rotation into the chairmanship of this board, and I would propose that we move. Election year will take things away too, and I must run for re-election because of the other commitments. So I would propose to abdicate and move to John Gray as our next chairman beginning at the January 9th meeting.
Okay, so I understand the need to make that statement because there are implications, as we know, going forward in how we assign our committees and So, but at this point in time, it's not part of the agenda, and so I am going to take that as an information item only, and it will be taken up at our next meeting. So, thank you. All right. Will the clerk please, let's see. We are going to recess as the Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors and convene as the Tuolumne County Water Agency. Will the clerk please read item 31?
Consideration of approving the 2018 Tuolumne County Water Agency Committee Handbook.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, board members, Liz Peterson, County Administrator's Office. Just here to kind of continue the conversation of the committee handbook. This now is for the Tuolumne County Water Agency Water Policy Advisory Committee handbook. Just a few minor changes for your consideration, mainly what was discussed previously, to move the meetings to be quarterly instead of monthly. That seems to be kind of consistent with how we've been meeting in the past. And again, as was noted, having them scheduled is a lot better for everyone to attend those meetings. And then secondly, I discussed these changes, of course, with the chair of the Water Policy Advisory Committee. And what he suggested was this work plan development schedule. So the work plan of the committee would be developed in October and then would be brought to your board in the following January meeting for your board's approval. So I'm just here requesting your approval for those minor changes for the handbook.
All right, are there any questions, board questions? Is there any public comment? All right, bring this back.
I think, Madam Chair, I'll move on staff recommendation. We might want to call it the Tuolumne County Water Agency hand sheet, since it's really only one piece of paper, but that's okay. And that's not part of my motion.
I have a motion from Supervisor Rotifer, a second from Supervisor Hanfeld. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thanks.
We are going to recess as the Tuolumne County Water Agency and reconvene as the Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors. Will the clerk please read item 32?
Consideration of approving the cancellation of the Board of Supervisors meeting of January 2nd, 2018, instead of 2017, and setting a special Board of Supervisors meeting on January 9th, 2018 at 9 a.m.
So I have a conflict for January 9th, and I am looking across the dais to see what the conflicts are for January 2nd.
It's a tough road for me to get home.
I'm good either day, but my concern is the preparation for a meeting on the 2nd would occur next week, and I'm not sure that's going to be reasonably doable for the staff. Pardon me?
Well, that's one of my concerns too. Is the next week is gone, and we.
Yeah, I understand.
Will it be a meaningful meeting on the 2nd anyway? Other than naming a chair and vice chair.
Then is there? I'm going to look to Mr. Pedro. Trying to find a solution here that accommodates, again, we want to have effective meetings.
Madam Chair, a question. Is the 9th another commitment similar to the one you had today, where you can anticipate being out and back by noon?
Yes, it would be.
Could we have a abbreviated meeting that would be designed to run 3 or 4 hours on the 9th and then catch up on the 16th?
I would ask Mr. Pedro.
Yeah, we could do whatever the board would like to make sure, we'll size it to whatever you want. We do have the marijuana work joint meeting scheduled that day. I know that David was talking about trying to be more educational focused on that one, because that was a good point that was made. That's not set yet, but we could make it a meaningful afternoon, meeting, engage accordingly.
So that would be workable for me, if that is workable across the dais.
Works for me.
So I would say that we could start at 12 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay.
12.
All right, so then the action would be approve cancellation of the regular meeting on January 2nd, set a special Board of Supervisors meeting on January 9th to begin at noon.
And again, that would allow us a 3.5-hour meeting with a break to accomplish whatever tasks, and then a slight break before the marijuana working group meeting.
Right.
Solid waste is scheduled at 3. Is that
We'd move it. We'd have to move it.
Good with that.
All right. Do I need a motion for that?
You want public comment?
Thank you. I am so sorry. Is there any public comment?
Of course there is.
Well, I was just concerned because you were supposed to get your MHSA Dog and Pony Show at your next meeting. So if I'm going to try to rally the troops, because I was told it was going to be today, and then it got moved to the 2nd.
I'd recommend we move that to the 16th.
Is there a time limit on that? I don't
know if you could have flexibility and see how I can
Yeah.
best adjust the agendas for both meetings.
You always have flexibility.
All right.
Okay, that'll work for me.
But-
And then solid waste hardly ever meets. I thought they were meeting, they don't meet on Wednesdays? Tuesdays, it's been so long.
But I'd be happy to go to a solid waste.
All right.
You can have
Thank you
my
for that
seat.
public comment. All right. Did I have a motion?
Yeah, move on staff recommendation.
Motion from Supervisor Rotifer, a second from Supervisor Royce. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right. Item 33.
Reports.
And I will start to my right.
Okay, have a few things to report on. User fees, I just want to mention, I did get with Carl just to talk about, user fees process, and just so there's clarification, on that. And I think what the plan will be, we will still go through Finance Committee with each department's fees, so the Finance Committee can fully vet those things. But when those individual department fees are ready, we can still bring those forth for hearing before the board for amendment to the the master fee ordinance. The last one that will be taken up in that department sequence of general fund departments will be the community resource, agency, which is one of the concerns, and we'll track, what kind of progress we're making as we go through each of those departments' fees. So just reporting in. Does that sound about right, Carl? Okay. Also, just wanted to mention water tanks, mainly for the public's, water tanks and our water deleveries, mainly for the public's benefit. I think the board's aware that in June of 2017 we had 166 residents on the program, 128 water tanks installed. As of December 13th, we were down to only 30 residents that are still on that program. There's 15 have been inspected, and staff is waiting on the documents for environmental health regarding the status of those tests. But we're well on our way to being there, so that by the end of March, we will be done with that program. And the staff's doing a really good job making sure that there's lots of information out there, so people are well aware. No one should be surprised that come the end of March, that program will be closed. But that transition's working well. Just want to mention also, we are spending a lot of time also on the financing for the primarily law and justice projects and the IT projects that your board authorized. That's going well. Great, kudos to Debbie and her team working downstairs, County Counsel's office, and Daniel in my office. We're hoping that we'll be ready to go here in February to have that financing in place. It could slide till March, but I'm feeling better because things are moving along. We're into it. We've got our financing team, and that seems to be working well. Also, want to say, been able to work with the city manager and also with the director over at the Visitors Bureau, and believe we do have. I know we have at least at a staff level, agreed upon TOT agreement, a successor TOT agreement that reflects the full 10% that's currently being charged, and hope to bring that back to you on this. I think the plan is to go to the city on the 15th and then come to the board on the 16th. I'm confident about the Visitors Bureau because it's signed by their president of their board and by County Counsel's office, so we'll go to city first and then to the board, so probably the 16th is when it'll hit here. Something that I apologize to your board not keeping you up to date on. I was prompted by Carl with an email yesterday just to report on it. Is I previously reported, that obviously we've had the front of that building torn up, and we were getting ready to redo the entrance. And again, why were we doing that? There was uprooting that was going on from some of the trees that were in that area. We had tiles coming up. Even if the tiles were down, we've had slips out there because those are slippery, particularly when they get in the wintertime. There was a consultation at the beginning of that project also on ADA, but by the time but I will say that that consultation should have been more detailed than what it was. But once the project got going, they were doing the demolition out there, and they started actually trying to tie in the grades that were out there. That's when we had realized we had a more significant ADA issue that we had to solve out there. In ADA, I just got to say it's a really difficult thing to work out, particularly meeting all the grades and things that you have to do, particularly in what I call vertically challenged Tuolumne County, because we're not flat like the rest of the world.
We're more horizontally challenged.
Horizontally challenged, yes, I'll correct that. You're right, horizontally challenged. But we brought in our engineer to help design that fix at the end of August, and it was the end of November when we got the actual plans, signed, stamped plans to take into account what we needed to do. Also made sure that we did get an estimate of what that work was going to be, so I could tell you what kind of difference we're looking at in the cost, and it will be about $60,000 more than what we had planned. Anyway, we're getting ready to get that thing out to bid. And again, the estimate's one thing. Let's see what the bids come back at. But I apologize for being so long and coming to you with an update on that. Anyway, that's your update on the A&F entrance. Kuhn Mill, some good news. The work on the bridge, I was just getting the update from David this morning. They do have their water diversion in place up there for the bridge. The demo is done, and they hope to have a wet set of the culverts done by this Thursday or Friday, that's making hay, up there. So they're making really good progress, and we did get a break, from the weather. But even if we get the rain tonight, they do have the diversion in place that should be more than adequate to not affect the work site. The trees. This is now along Old Oak Ranch, a.k.a. Duke's Trail, that's up there, but Duke's Trail, well, we just joked it. It's the Old Oak Ranch section. That's the safety route out the back door. There was 170 trees that needed to come out of that area, and talking with Mike Albrecht this morning, those should all be down, and he'll be checking with Nate's Tree Service, who's doing the work. They think it'll all be down by this Thursday. But then they got to haul them out. They got a lot of them done last week, and they're trying to finish getting them down, this week, and then they've got, of course, then haul them out. Do the nice cleanup and haul them out. And he's checking on that as well. It's weather dependent, but hoping that by the middle of next week, those will be down and those will be out. And then one twist that I had not been aware of, but they mentioned that AT&T's also been coming along and having to put in some new poles while all this work is going on as well, which is good, efficient, and proper use, so we don't, get everything done and then let's go beat up the road with heavy PG&E trucks packing poles. So that's going on at the same time, so that's really good. But we're having good communication between, my office as far as tree mortality with Sierra Mountain Construction on the roads to try and, as soon as we can possibly get Sierra Mountain in there, get them in there to do the road work. So that communication is going on. So as soon as the trees are done, then we can go ahead and get that project, get the road work done. So hopefully we'll get trees down, we'll get the new bridge serving the community, the permanent solution, get the trees down, and get that road rehabbed with some new AT&T poles to boot. So that's it.
Supervisor Hanfield.
Yeah, well, thank you for that work as soon as it's done. Couple of things. The Housing Policy Committee meeting met. We've been discussing PACE and whether we should accept PACE in our county for a couple of years, and we had lots of unanswered questions. The bottom line is those unanswered questions still remain. If we were to come to you with a recommendation, be a recommendation against accepting PACE, it would be a recommendation of the committee. You would get your assessor recorder, your treasurer, tax collector, your auditor control, assessor, anyway, and your legal counsel all telling you about the problems. And so we have killed it for further consideration unless there is some big change. We're not bringing it to you. There's no point in bringing you a negative recommendation by everybody that you would consider a source. So the other one is I do want to comment on the Tree Mortality Task Force. When they last met in Sacramento, what a privilege it is to get up there and be able to say, we've completed 27 projects, we've got 20 in the middle and in the queue. Some counties are starting their first project now. Some counties have just hired their equivalent of Mike Albrecht. Your county's on top of it, and part of it is that we were prepared. We had that hazard mitigation plan in place ahead of time, all those kinds of things. And the last thing I want to announce is on January 1st, I become the first vice chair of RCRC. There is a formal swearing-in ceremony and a reception in Sacramento on the 17th, and you're all invited. Thank you.
Okay. I also attended the Housing Policy Committee, and one of the other subjects that we discussed was the lack of workforce housing, and talked about possible solutions, but it's a really tough one. The same day I attended a TCTC, but Caltrans had information on the projects that they intend to do in Tuolumne County next year, and I believe the figure was around $60 million worth of work in Tuolumne County from Caltrans, mostly paving. And it's, again, we don't look at it as money we spend, but it's our tax dollar, and it's going to really improve some of the roadways. And let's see, yesterday I was attended the Friends of the Library, Groveland Library luncheon in Groveland, and had said a few words about Maggie, but also introduced Deborah Sampson, our new library director, to the group. So that's my report.
So I think it was maybe Monday. When was the staff meeting? The department head Friday. I did go to the department head meeting this week, and it was honestly just an opportunity, stroke of opportunity, because I happened to be walking by and I saw everybody collecting. So I took the time to go in and thank all of our department heads for their leadership this year, and also all the hard work for not just them, but all of the people in the county. And I also mentioned that this is a good time of the year to reflect back on all the great work that has been done in the county. And I'm making this report mostly for all the staff people that weren't there. I hope that enough of them are listening that the word will get around, because I know that although I didn't speak, because I don't, for my fellows on the board, that I know that they share what I shared with the county leadership, and that is a profound gratitude for all the hard work. I also mentioned that this is a good time of year to reflect back on that hard work, but it's also a good time of year to take the time for ourselves and our families. The holidays are here, and I wish them a merry whatever they celebrate, whether that's Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever the holiday of their faith or their belief is. And to take the time to take a deep breath so that they can come back in the new year recharged and reinvigorated, and let's build on the successes of this year next year. So I just wanted to report that out to my fellow board members, but mostly I want to make sure that that message gets out to the entire staff. And again, hopefully enough people are listening, but everything you do is greatly appreciated, and I hope that the public feels the way that I do, and that we have absolutely the best county staff in the state of California, maybe anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Supervisor Rotifer. That was very, very well said. County Council?
Sure. You probably have seen a lot of things that we've worked on the last few weeks, and Craig and Randy mentioned a few others. But what I wanted to say is I want to thank the CAO's office for the holiday get-together that we had last Friday, the ugly sweater contest. I think it was really fun. And I probably got one of the best laughs that morning when I walked in the building and realized all of our decorations were hanging out in the hall. It took like 5 years. They got us back, but
it was a big, tall, green fella that did it.
That means it's on. So, anyways, thank you,
Mr. Marr. All right, just a couple of very quick items. The first is we did have our natural resource meeting last week, and we heard an awful lot about that today. But there was one additional piece that was very valuable, and we had a member of the public that spoke to us at the podium under public comment about water availability in the county, and we had a good conversation about that and recognized the need to pull a few people in and get at that a little bit deeper with some county fire folks and the water committee and natural resources. And because when we talk about protection, we look an awful lot at the WUIs and the good things that we're doing with the fire safe councils, but we really need to make sure that we've got adequate access to water that's available around the county, and so we will be doing that. And that's something very good that came out of some public comment, and just wanted to pass that along. And the other piece was the Vision Sonora meeting that was held last Thursday. Was very well attended, and they are going through the process of looking at potential alternatives for some work downtown, some traffic calming pieces, some pedestrian safety, crosswalks. They've got a whole array of options, and they're seeking input. And so I know they will be having, I think, at least one more public opportunity in the evening. I believe it will be before the city council meeting. You can go to the city website to confirm the time, and so thank you for sharing that. But again, I would encourage anybody that is interested in the improvements that they're thinking about doing. Again, they're looking for public input. Please either go to the TCTC website, the city website, or attend one of the public meetings. And wish you all a very, very, very happy holiday. And thank you for all of the participation this year. It's been wonderful. Meeting adjourned.